But
No,
if you want to see it right now, then you can see it.
it's just a little impersonal that we can see everybody except you. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I mean?
looks like we're talking to Prabhupada when you have a question. It sounds like Prabhupada's asking us a question. Oh,
Yeah, he did ask a lot of questions to you guys, but you guys were not able to answer.
No,
If you want to see it right now, then you can. Right?
yeah, don't be shy. You're not your body. We still can't see
I'm at
you.
work, so
Oh, there you are.
You
Oh,
see
wow. You look like a movie star.
yeah, look there, wait a minute.
Can I have your autograph?
you want to see where I am?
Uh,
Sure, why not? This is where I am.
Where are
This
you
is my
working?
office. This is my office.
Wow.
So I cannot show you my
Let
office.
me get.
You're like a
All
CEO.
right.
Where are you located?
What do
Yeah.
they call this? What do they call this?
I am in Sacramento.
Oh, is that near you, Siddhanta Prabhu?
Well, it's all relative, but it takes maybe 6-7 hours to get there.
Oh, that's all. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Is that where Narayana?
So
Narayana is near
no,
Sacramento?
he's in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yes.
Udayananda lives relatively closer to him than me.
Oh, okay.
Siddhanta Prabhu, did you do a memory thing for me?
Was your memory is fading?
You look totally different than Sid Hunter.
That's because I've lost a lot of hair.
Oh. Now you look like a senator.
Okay.
When we were
Yeah,
over at
you're on.
Leelananda's,
Go ahead.
at Leelananda's house.
Correct. It's all coming back to you now.
He used to be a Hare Krishna, but now he's become a Hare Krishna.
Yeah, shaved up.
Shall I
Yeah.
summon the bhajan for tonight?
You're on part 54, if anybody asks. Part
He only
54.
picked it because it has his name in it.
How was it visiting New York, Siddhanta Prabhu? Weather,
Well,
weather,
I survived.
yeah,
it
weather
was
a little
hot.
better up there? Uh-huh.
Better than what?
California.
Is
No.
everything shut down or still?
In New York? No, they're pretty wide open there.
Uh-huh.
A lot of tourists I saw there. I got a tour of
Oh.
the 9/11
Yeah.
memorial there.
Huh.
And but I've heard Italian being spoken, one group, and then another group, 2 or 3 different languages. So,
Yeah, I was about 2 miles north on that day, and above my place where I worked was CNN. So a lot of the show. So I saw both the buildings fall down. I didn't see the planes. I was away at that time, and I remember telling the manager, I said, a plane hit the building. Then he comes over to me quietly, says, 2 planes. And then we
Right.
watched them fall down. Everybody was crying.
I heard there was a third building.
That's building number 7.
Yeah.
And that was out of sight, but that came down obviously by a demolition.
yeah, no plane hit that one.
And it wasn't hit by any plane.
And it went down the same way the other 2
And it was
Came down.
full of
pancaked.
full of money.
Did-
There's a British news lady saying, and building number 7 has fallen, and right behind her, it's still standing.
Right.
Wow.
Went
Wow.
down right in its own footprint, and blah, blah, and it's still behind her.
Mm.
Yeah,
Sounds
they
like
made a
you got
mistake
picked
on
off.
that one.
Sorry, Siddhanta, what?
Well, I'm saying, whoever pancaked them made a mistake with that one.
And the media conveniently left out building number 7. Is that correct?
No, it was there. They just neglected to say there was a lot of insurance money
Yeah.
that had been taken out, insurance policy that had been taken out maybe a couple of weeks before.
And they didn't mention how it came down.
Well, it was obvious. You could see it.
Yeah, it's well, just like a demolition. And even the other buildings came down. When I saw them come down, each floor, flames shot out of each floor as it came down.
Yeah.
Whack, 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 whack.
That's
And
called,
the really weird thing is, where's the rubble? And I saw, did I say this last time? Peter Jennings was the anchor, and George Stephanopoulos was down on the site. Peter Jennings says, we don't see a lot of rubble. There's supposed to be 12% of a building on the ground. So it's 100 stories. There should be 12 and a half stories of junk on the ground. He says, what? And he says, well, Peter, it seems to have evaporated and sunk into the ground. And this nonsense. It disintegrated. It burned for 5 weeks. I lived on 15th Street, and one day the wind changed and we had gunk coming through the air conditioner. We put a cover over it. And just imagine, think of, somebody mentions it, just imagine how many sinks and bathroom facilities had to be completely dustified. No trace. And cars were found burnt almost a mile away.
wow.
And the paper in the cars was not burnt.
How come?
Very strange. So there's theories about radiation and N bombs and so on. You don't hear about it much anymore.
All right.
Gai Gora Madhur Sare.
Where is that? There it is. From Sharanagati.
And I think this is a song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in a folk, Bengali folk music kind melody for the general public, full of teachings, full of Siddhanta and Tattva. Gai Gora Madhur Sare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grihe tako, bonne tako, Sada Hari bole tako, Sukhe dukhe bhulo nako, Bodane Hari namo karo re. Gai Gora Madhur Sare, Maya jale bhaddo hoye, আচমিছে কাজ লয়ে, এখনো চৈতন্য পেয়ে রাধা মাধব নাম বলো রে। গাই গৌরা মধুর স্বরে, জীবন হইল শেষ, না ভজিলে ঋষিকেশ, ভক্তি বিনোদ উপদেশ, একবার হরি নাম রস মাতরে। Gai Gora Madhur Sare, Gai Gora Madhur Sare. Someone can read the translation. Lord Gauranga sings in a very sweet voice. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Whether you are a householder or a sannyasi, constantly chant Hari, Hari. Do not forget this chanting. Whether you are in a happy condition or a distressful one, just fill your lips with the Hari Nam. Anyone else?
You are bound up in the network of Maya and are forced to toil fruitlessly. Now you have obtained full consciousness in the human form of life, so chant the names of Radha Madhava.
Siddhanta Prabhu?
Hold on, let me minimize these things. Your life may end at any moment, and you have not served the Lord of the senses, Rishikesh. Take this advice of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Just once relish the nectar of the holy name.
Jaya. So I found a purport for this. There's no purport that's provided here. Now, how do I get to that? Okay, there it is. Let me see if I can get the view a little bit bigger here. Zoom in again. Okay, Gai Gorachand Madhu Sware. This is a song sung by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says that Lord Chaitanya, Gora means Lord Chaitanya. Gora Sundar, the fair complexion. Gai Gorachand Madhur Sware. In sweet voice, he is singing Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Acyutananda, Prabhu?
It's very small.
Oh, I can make it bigger. Hold on.
Make it bigger.
I'll give it another zoom in.
Thakur advises, never mind you are in a distress or happiness.
No, in very sweet song.
In a very sweet song
Paragraph.
he is singing, and it's our duty to follow his footsteps to sing the Maha Mantra. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur advises, Grihe Tako Bane Tako, Sada Hari Bole Tako. Grihe Tako means those who stay at your home as a householder, or you stay in the forest as the renounced order of life. It does not make a difference, but you have to chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. It's Grihe Bane Tako, Sada Hari Bole Tako. Always chant this Maha Mantra. Sukhe Dukhe Bula Nako. Do not forget chanting either in distress or in happiness. Vadane Harinam Korore. So far chanting is concerned, there cannot be any check, because in whatever condition I may be, I can go on chanting this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Gorachandra, Prabhu. I mean, Krishna Chandra, excuse me.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur advises, never mind, you are in distress or happiness, but go on chanting this Maha Mantra. Maya jale bhada hoye, acho miche kaja loye. You are entrapped by the network of illusory energy. Maya jale bhada hoye, just like the fisherman catches from the sea all kinds of creatures within the network. Similarly, we are also within the net of illusory energy. And because we have no freedom, therefore all our activities are useless. Action and freedom has got some meaning, but when we are not free within the clutches of Maya, within the network of Maya, then our so-called freedom has no value. Therefore, whatever we are doing is simply defeat. Without knowing our constitutional position, if you are forced to do something by the pressure of the illusory energy, it is simply useless waste of time. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, now you have got full consciousness in the human form of life. So just chant Hare Krishna, Radha Madhava, all these names. There is no loss or great profit. Jivana hoilo sesa, na bajile rishikesh. Now gradually everyone is on the verge of death. Nobody can say that I shall remain. I shall stay for more than 100 years, more than 100 years. No, any moment we can die. Therefore, he advises Jivana hoilo sesha. Our life is at the end at any moment, and we could not serve Rishikesh, Krishna.
Bhaktivinoda Upadesh, therefore Thakur Bhaktivinoda advises, Ekbar Nam Rase Matore. Please be enchanted, Nam Rase, in the mellow of chanting the transcendental name. Dive yourself within this ocean. That is my request. All glories to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And that was posted at the site of our wonderful godbrother, Padmapani Prabhu, who came out with the Vaishnav Journal, I think it was called, in the early 80s. And he went to Cairo. And one day, Sri Bhubanath Prabhu, our godbrother in England, said to him, "Hey, do you want to go and preach in Lebanon?" He said, "Okay, that sounds like fun." But he said, Sri Bhubanath didn't tell me that there was a war going on at the time. So when he got there, there were bombs going off and bullets flying all over the place. And he said one day, Sri Bhubanath got into a taxi to have the taxi cab driver take the newly translated Bhagavad Gita that had been translated by Ravanari, and to have it taken to the printers. But on the way to the printers in the taxi cab, a mortar bomb went off exploded near the car, and the taxi cab driver jumped out and ran away. And Sri Bhubanath got into the seat of the taxi driver, turned on the engine, and kept driving to the printers to get the Bhagavad Gita completed. Quite an adventure story. Okay, so we have
Prabhupada, Vishwanath Chakrabarti comments that troubles that we take in the line of preaching are worth more than 1,000 times the suffering or the tapasya of rishis.
Wow, yeah.
Sridhar Maharaj told me that. And he said, because the rishi takes a vow, chaturmasya or something, and it's planned. But suddenly a bomb go off or this happened, that is worth much more that you don't know. Like in boxing, the punch that hurts the most is the one you don't see coming.
What does that mean exactly?
You ever get punched?
Yeah.
So you just see it coming, you can prepare. You can
right,
try to
okay.
duck, but the one you don't see coming hurts more, because where did that come from? Kaboom.
Because there's a shock. Yeah.
And then you feel, boy, I didn't protect, I didn't move it, or what. And in the line of preaching, when these disasters come here, it's just, you have to rely on Krishna.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this song mentions, we never know. We have to chant Hare Krishna all the time because we never know when we're going to die.
Right.
And the other side, like Ajamil, don't think that if you don't chant, that you'll chant at the end of your life. If you're thinking of all kinds of nonsense, then your head at the time of death, you don't think you may call on Krishna. Don't plan on that. So two things are going why we should chant constantly. One, we don't know, and the other one, we don't. If we're not practiced in it constantly, then even if we know when we're going to pass away, we may not remember Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So two sides to that.
Thank you. Okay, so here we are. Acyutananda, would you like to begin from where we left off? Chapter 22, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Let me clear the screen. Oh. The 4 verses beginning with the Hameva are the gist of the whole Bhagavatam. They are, quote, I am the supreme center for the relationships of all living entities, and my knowledge is the supreme knowledge. That process by which I can be attained by the living entity is called Abhideya, sadhana. By it, one can attain the highest perfection of life, love of Godhead. When one attains love of Godhead, his life becomes perfect. The explanation of these 4 verses given in Srimad Bhagavatam and Lord Chaitanya gave a short description of the principles of these verses. He said that no one can understand the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord, his situation, his transcendental qualities, his transcendental activities, and his 6 opulences. These cannot be understood by mental speculation or academic education. They can only be understood by the mercy of the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, One who is fortunate enough to receive the Lord's favor can understand all these explanations by the mercy of the Lord.
The Lord existed before the material creation. Therefore, the material ingredients, nature, and the living entities emanated from him. And after dissolution, they rest in him. When the creation is manifest, it is maintained by him. Indeed, whatever manifestation we see is but a transformation of his external energy. When the Supreme Lord withdraws his external energy, everything enters into him. In the first of the 4 verses, the word aham is given 3 times in order to stress that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is full with all opulences. Aham is stated 3 times just to chastise one who cannot understand or believe in the transcendental nature and form of the Lord. Krishna Chandra.
Right. The Lord possesses his internal energy, his external, marginal, and relative energies, the manifestation of the cosmic world and the living entities. The external energy is manifested by the qualitative modes, gunas, of material nature. One who can understand the nature of the living entity in the spiritual world can actually understand Vedyam, or perfect knowledge. One cannot understand the Supreme Lord simply by seeing the material energy and the conditioned soul. But when one is in perfect knowledge, he is freed from the influence of the external energy. The moon reflects the light of the sun, and without the sun, the moon cannot illuminate anything. Similarly, this material cosmic manifestation is but the reflection of the spiritual world. When one is actually liberated from the spell of the external energy, he can understand the constitutional nature of the Supreme Lord. Devotional service to the Lord is the only means by which the Lord can be attained, and this devotional service can be accepted by everyone and anyone in any country and under any circumstance. Devotional service is above the 4 principles of religion and the understanding derived from liberation. Even the preliminaries of devotional service are transcendental to the highest understanding derived from liberation and the understanding derived from ordinary religion.
Yeah. The first covering of the jiva is ego, ahankar. That's the subtlest thing. So it's like a film that diffracts the light. So on one side you have the glow of and the pure colors and shapes and forms and qualities of Krishna in Vaikuntha. Then you cover that with the ahankar, and you turn everything around me. And then the colors on the other side, they're just dead colors. They don't reflect any light. They're just dead colors of the spectrum. The other side, you remove that, all these coverings, and you will see. That's why I thought that this is like a dream, and it's very important. This word like is so important. It's nothing we can describe is exactly like anything. It is, you can describe rasgullas, but until you eat them, so it's like, so this is like a dream or like a hallucination. So imagine if we think this is so real and tangible, imagine how intensely the experience would be on the other side of this ego when we turn around. The word is bahirmukh. We've turned our back on Krishna. We're looking at the external. And you turn around to look at the Vaikuntha sky and well, everything is genuine. That's reality.
The gopis must be billions, quadrillions of times more beautiful than the most beautiful women in this world. But in the spiritual world, we would have no lust.
Well, doesn't it say that even the demigod ladies look like frogs compared to them?
The apsaras, yeah.
The apsaras look like frogs.
And we glorify womanly beauty here so much. They're actually worse than frogs. Siddhanta Prabhu, would you like to finish the chapter?
Okay, just one added story. I think I've already told it. Shruti
Oh,
Kirti
good.
tells
Story time.
about Prabhupada getting off the plane. They're all standing up in the aisle waiting for the crowd to go down and get out of the plane. And right in front of Prabhupada is a beautiful woman from Brazil, I think.
Oh, all right. Or Mexico?
Somewhere. She's from somewhere. But the point is that she was very beautiful.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada said, oh, she's very pretty, don't you think? Or she's very beautiful, don't you think? He asked Shruti Kirti. And the lady heard him because she was so close. She turned around and said, oh, thank you. And Prabhupada said, no, that was not a compliment. It's just a fact.
And the reporter who said very confrontationally to Prabhupada, what do? Walk on water or something? And Prabhupada said, there can be beautiful women standing here naked. You will be attracted. I will not.
Jai Prabhupada.
That's
It's
someone
like
we can
a
trust
slap
and
in the
follow.
face.
Yeah.
When it gets snippy with me, little man, and that's the day Prabhupada didn't like these TV interviews and so on. He said, no more of these. Some idiot asking stupid questions. You know? There's the spiritual master standing right in front of you. And you're asking, why do you wear orange? What's that on your, why don't you, how come you don't smoke? One of them said that Burke guy, he would be on the air smoking cigars. But he had some regard for Prabhupada. After the show, Brahmananda told me that Mr. Burke said, he's a real Swami.
Nice.
Jai.
I heard them when our godbrothers also went to inquire from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Goswami. They didn't ask him very deep questions. It was just mostly all management, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, text.
All
Next
right.
up.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to get to the next chapter. Chapter 23. Hey, Ramachandra, are you able to read or are you only able to listen, Prabhu?
Just listen.
Okay.
Okay. Chapter 23. Why study the Vedanta Sutra? Knowledge is information gathered from the scriptures, and science is practical realization of that knowledge. Knowledge is scientific when it is gathered from the scriptures through the bona fide spiritual master. But when it is interpreted by speculation, it is mental concoction. By scientifically understanding the scriptural information through the bona fide spiritual master, one learns by one's own realization the actual situation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is different from material manifestations, and it is above the reactions of matter. Unless one scientifically understands the spiritual form of the Personality of Godhead, one becomes an impersonalist. The sunshine in itself is illumination, but that illumination is different from the sun. Yet the sun and the sunshine are not differently situated, for without the sun, there can be no sunshine. And without sunshine, there is no meaning to the word sun. Ain't no sunshine. Acyutananda Prabhu.
Unless one is freed from the influence of material energy, he cannot understand the Supreme Lord and his different energies. Nor can one who is captivated by the spell of material energy understand the spiritual form of the Supreme Lord. Unless there is realization of the transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of love of God. That's why Mayavad is atheism. And that's what's appealing. Oh, I can be a Hindu and be an atheist. Unless, or Buddhist, same thing. Mayavad is Prachanna Bodha. It's covered Buddhism. Unless one can realize the transcendental form of the Supreme Lord, he cannot actually attain love of God. And without love of God, there can be no perfection in human life. Just as the 5 gross elements of nature, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether, are both within and without all living beings in this world, the Supreme Lord is both inside and outside this existence. And those who are his devotees can realize this.
Krishna Chandra.
Oh, yes. Excuse me. Pure devotees know that they are meant to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that all things that exist can be means by which one can serve the Supreme. Because a devotee has been blessed by the Supreme from within his heart, he can see the Supreme Lord wherever he looks. Indeed, he can see nothing else. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11:2-55, the relationship between the devotee and the Supreme Lord is confirmed as follows. Vishurjati hridayam na yasya sakshad drarir avasha bihito pi agahaunasa pranaya rasanaya dritangri padmaha sadbhavati bhagavata pradhana uktaha. If a person's heart is always tied to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord with the rope of love, the Lord does not leave him. Indeed, even if his remembrance is not perfect, he is to be considered a first-class devotee. There is an example of this described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Dasha Skanda 10:34. When the gopis assembled to join the rasa dance with Krishna, Krishna left them. Consequently, the gopis began to chant the holy name of Krishna, and being overwhelmed with madness, began to inquire about Krishna from the flowers and the creepers in the forest. Krishna is like the sky. He is situated everywhere.
Siddhanta Prabhu.
By studying Srimad, excuse me. By studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we can obtain information about our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, understand the procedure by which the Lord can be attained, and receive the ultimate realization, which is love of Godhead. In explaining to Prakashananda Saraswati how one can achieve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service, Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-21, in which the Lord says that he can be realized only through devotional service executed with faith and love. Indeed, it is devotional service alone which purifies the heart of the devotee and elevates him to the ultimate realization by which he, established in faith, renders service unto the Supreme Lord. Even if one is born in a low family, like a family of chandalas, dog-eaters, one can become filled with transcendental symptoms through realization of the supreme stage of love of Godhead. These transcendental symptoms are described in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:3-31. Smarantata smarayantascha mito goga haram harim bhaktya samjataya bhaktya bibrati utu palakam tanum. When devotees discuss subjects dealing with the Supreme Lord, who can cleanse the heart of his devotee from all kinds of sinful activities, they become overwhelmed with ecstasy and display different symptoms due to their devotional service. This Bhagavatam further states, due to their spontaneous attachment for the Lord, when they chant his holy names, they sometimes cry, sometimes laugh, dance, sing, and so on, not caring for any social convention. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:240.
Dr. Connor is back with us. Are you able to read with us, Connor, or are you at a job or something?
I am just on my way home right now. I can't read at the moment because I'm walking.
Okay, it's all right. Just keep listening. Thank you.
I am. Haribol, thanks for
We
having
should
me.
understand that Srimad Bhagavatam is the real explanation of the Brahma Sutra and is compiled by Vyasadeva himself. In the Garuda Purana, it is said, Arto yam Brahma Sutra Nambara Tarta Vinirnaya Gayatri Basya Rupo Sao Vidarta Paribrimhin Hitaha Grantos Tadasha Sahasraha Srimad Bhagavata Vidaha. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the authorized explanation of Brahma Sutra, and it is a further explanation of Mahabharata. It is the explanation of the Gayatri Mantra
Expansion.
And, oh, excuse me. It is the expansion of the Gayatri Mantra and the essence of all Vedic knowledge. This Srimad Bhagavatam, containing 18,000 verses, is known as the explanation of all Vedic literature. In the very first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami, how can one know the essence of Vedic literature? In answer, Sutta Goswami presented Srimad Bhagavatam as the essence of all the Vedas, histories, and other Vedic literatures. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 12, 13, 15, it is clearly stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta knowledge, and that one who relishes the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam has no taste for studying any other literature. In the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the meaning and purpose of the Gayatri Mantra are also described. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Truth. This is the first introductory verse dealing with the Supreme Truth, which is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam as the source of creation, maintenance, and destruction for the cosmic manifestation. Obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, directly indicate Lord Sri Krishna, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. This fact is more explicitly presented later in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva asserts that Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and that all others are either his direct or indirect plenary portions or portions of those portions. Srila Jiva Goswami has later still more explicitly developed this subject in his Krishna Sandarbha, and Brahma, the original living being, has explained Sri Krishna substantially in his treatise, Brahma Sanhita. The Samaveda also verifies the fact that Lord Sri Krishna is the divine son of Devaki. Acyutananda Prabhu, I just wanted to ask, in the beginning here, it says the Srimad Bhagavatam is the authorized explanation of Brahma Sutra. So Brahma Sutra is just a synonym for Vedanta Sutra, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And here at the end, it's making reference to the Krishna Sandarbha, and I was informed that Sach Narayan Das Babaji is completing, I believe, the last of the Sandarbhas. I think it's called, is it the Priti Sandarbha? Is that the last one?
Oh, I thought he finished all of them, but he has a very comprehensive course on it. I don't know if it's an online course or if you have to go to India, but he has classes. They're very comprehensive. And
Ravi Swami went there in the 80s and studied, spent, I don't know if it was a month or 2 months or how long, but he studied the Sandarbhas with him in the 1980s.
yes, it would take that long. So I'm sure he's completed all of it. The last, I'm on his email connection thread, and he just sent me and everybody on that thread all of the glories of Nam. So
Oh, must be very nice.
many verses. And if you find the Prema Vivarta, the 19th and 20th, the last 2 chapters are all the glories and methods of chanting, all the Namaparads and the glories of the holy name.
Prema Vivarta, that was by Jagadananda?
Jagadananda, yes.
I've got it here. I should look at it.
Oh, it's beautiful. And every other chapter will be a lila of him, of Jagadananda with Lord Chaitanya.
And he's a manifestation of Srimati Radharani?
No, he's a manifestation of one of the Sakis.
Okay.
But he is not, it is considered, he said that, again, a great word, like, he's like Satyabhama, who could get very upset when Krishna wasn't too pleased. It's when Krishna goes to get the Parijata flower, he gets a Parijata flower for Rukmini, but Satyabhama gets very jealous. He says, okay, come with me to Indraloka, I'll bring you the whole tree.
Right.
Okay, you come with me. And it's, so you see the picture, the Krishna's on Garuda going to Indraloka with Satyabhama. So I also think my commentary that Indra sees Narayan coming, Krishna, and his wife is there. Uh-oh, he's bringing his wife. So whatever he asks for his wife, I better give him. It's a mundane example. Harry Truman used to disagree with Congress, but he'd say, I don't mind this, but Mrs. Truman is very upset. And then, boom, everybody would pass. Okay, whoa, you insult somebody, it's bad. You insult their wife, that's really bad. So Krishna, he's going to get really upset. So he gets the Parijata tree. Then Satyabhama plants the tree in her garden, and the tree grows over the wall, and all the flowers drop into Rukmini's garden. And every day, morning, Rukmini would bring the flowers back to Satyabhama. These are the flowers from your tree. And she says, yeah, but they fell in your garden, so you take them back. No. And they went back and forth a while. So these are, again, someone has to be above the transcendental, above the material level to understand these topics. So Lord Chaitanya also, Jagadananda brought him some nice oil, and Lord Chaitanya said, no, that's not for a sannyasi. And Jagadananda broke that pot. He's not accepting my offering. He would get very upset.
Right.
Like Satyabhama, but he was not. He was Saki.
Thank you. I think is it your turn now? I just read, I think.
In his prayer, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam first proposes that Lord Krishna is the primeval Lord, and that if any transcendental nomenclature for the absolute truth, absolute personality of Godhead is to be accepted, it should be the name of Krishna, the all-attractive. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has affirmed in many passages that he is the original personality of Godhead, and this was also confirmed by Arjuna, who cited great sages like Narada, Vyasa, and many others. In Padma Purana, it is also stated that of the innumerable names of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the principal one. Although the name of Vasudeva indicates the plenary portion of the personality of Godhead, and although all the different forms of the Lord are identical with Vasudeva, in this text, Vasudeva principally indicates the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Sri Krishna is always meditated upon by the Paramhamsas, those who are most perfect in the renounced order of life. Vasudeva, or Lord Krishna, is the cause of all causes, and everything that exists as an emanation from him. How this is so explained in the later chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is great. I wrote a note. I wanted to describe, why is it called Paramhamsa? The ultimate swan. A swan has a tongue that can separate milk from water. So if you have a mixture of milk and water, and the swan licks it, you'll be left with water. The swan can take the milk.
Amazing.
Now, this leads into another explanation. The present health minister of America, what's his, United States?
That lady from Pennsylvania.
No, this is a guy, an Indian, Vivek.
Oh,
Murthy, Vivek. Now, Vivek actually means discrimination, but somehow or other in modern Indian languages, Vivek means social service because it was tied to Vivekananda. See, so they'll say, "Oh, you don't have any Vivek." I mean, it's secular human socialism. It's really been perverted. It's really ugly. So Vivek and Vivekananda should mean a Paramhamsa who can discriminate between matter and spirit. Instead, now Vivek socially has come to mean social services.
Hare Krishna, Loka Guru Prabhu. Great to see you again.
Krishna.
Pranam. Nice to see you. Enjoy. We haven't heard from you, so would you like to read?
Sure. Okay.
Generally, a philosophical mind.
Right. Generally, a philosophical mind is inquisitive to learn of the origin of all creations. When one who is philosophical sees the night sky, he naturally raises questions about the stars, how they are situated, who lives there, etc. All these inquiries are quite natural for a human being, for the human being has greater developed consciousness than the animals. In answer to such an inquiry, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam says that the Lord is the origin of all creations. He is not only the creator, but the maintainer and annihilator as well. The manifested cosmic creation is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord, is maintained for some time, and is finally annihilated by his will. Thus, he is the supreme will behind all activities. Continue.
That would, I guess, as you like. It's short. Yeah.
Okay. Of course, there are atheists of various categories who do not believe in the creator, but that is due simply to their poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientist creates rockets, and by some arrangement or other, they are thrown into outer space to fly for some time under the control of a scientist far away. All the universes and innumerable planets within them are similar to such rockets, and they are all controlled by the personality of Godhead.
Krishna Chandra.
Jai. In the Vedic literatures, it is said that the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is the foremost among all living personalities. All living beings, from the first created being, Brahma, down to the smallest ant, are individual living entities. Even above Brahma, there are many other living beings with individual capacities. The personality of Godhead himself is also a living being and is as much an individual as the other living beings. However, the Supreme Lord is the supreme living being, and he has the greatest mind and possesses the supermost inconceivable energies in great variety. If a man's mind can produce rockets and spaceships, it is conceivable that a mind higher than man's can produce superior things. A reasonable person will accept this argument, but stubborn, obstinate people will not.
Siddhanta Prabhu.
Yes, I am. Srila Vyasadeva at once accepts the Supreme Mind as the Parameshvara, the Supreme Controller. As stated in Bhagavad Gita and all other scriptures written by Srila Vyasadeva, that Parameshvara is Sri Krishna himself. This is specifically validated in Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, also the Lord himself says that there is no Paratattva, summum bonum, superior to himself. Therefore, the author at once worships the Paratattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto.
You want to read another? That's really short.
Unscrupulous people go at once to the 10th canto, especially to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's Rasa dance. However, this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of that great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, he is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes in the Rasa dance and the Lord's love affairs with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual and technical, and only liberated personalities who have gradually attained the stage of Paramahamsa can transcendentally relish the worshipable Rasa dance.
Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva gives the reader a chance to gradually develop in spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Thus, Vyasadeva purposefully invokes the Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is especially meant for spiritually advanced people. Just when I read that, I'm just thinking about all the yoga groups. There's many yoga musicians, and they dedicate an entire CD just to Gayatri mantra. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, I guess in one sense it's auspicious for anyone to chant Gayatri, but here Prabhupada is saying it's especially meant for spiritually advanced people. I'm just thinking a lot of the kirtan musicians, you know, they may be teaching Gayatri to people that are still eating meat or, you know, getting drunk or stoned. I mean, is that cool, or what's your
No,
understanding?
that is milk touched by the lips of a serpent causing poisonous effect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I saw, you know, the disciples of Sai Baba passed away. Now they have a whole Vedic school of people chanting Vedic Shastra.
Uh,
I studied in a Vedic school, and
uh-huh.
all our life we chanted Gayatri Mantra, every student, every day in morning assembly.
Sahasra Shirsa
I studied
Purusha
in Daya.
Sahasrasha Sahasrapad. Purusha Shukta, you did?
Shikarani,
I wiped her away.
you blew her right out of the water.
He's still there, Prabhu.
My
Sikarani,
phone was disconnected.
Come back.
it's natural, Sikarani.
I'm here only.
You're from a Sharma family, so we would expect you'd be chanting Gayatri every day. But you're saying,
I do it.
uh-huh.
Yeah. But everybody was doing in my school, like all the children.
Oh, so is that milk touched by the lips of a serpent, Acyutananda, if all the school kids are chanting Gayatri?
If you're in the Brahmin family, they do it. Did you do Evam Samagayan Naste? Ha u ahamanam ahamanam. You know that one? Ahamanado
We did.
Ahamanadaha Ahankrit sloka krita Ahankrit sloka krita Ahankrit sloka krite. You know that one?
No, not this
That's a
one.
little
But
one.
yeah, like
Samagaya.
so I think there were like 8 verses after Gayatri Mantra, and then in the evening time it will be like the Santi part. So the school always ends with the Santi part. Om Shanti Shanti Dehi. That
Can you say one?
part.
Very bad reception, Shikarani. Your voice is
Yeah.
in and out.
Don't touch anything.
Sorry. I think when I go far from my house, the Wi-Fi goes. So basically, I was telling that the school ended with the Shanti part. That one, the Om Shanti Shanti Dehi, Prithvim Shanti, Antariksham Shanti. That one.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and morning was the Gayatri Mantra and all the 8 verses after the Gayatri Mantra, like the full version, not the small one. So we all know the main Gayatri Mantra, right? But then Gayatri Mantra has many mantras after that as well. Yeah. So yeah, like they used to do a lot of things like Havan and everything. Every week there will be Havan Yagya, because it was an Anglo-Vedic school, like Dayananda Anglo-Vedic School, DAV, which has a whole chain of schools in India.
Here we have a Brahmin Sharma from Nepal who does exquisite yagya. And I asked him, and you'll notice, because I said, because now he's Gaudiya Vaishnava. So I said, are you following the procedures of Gopal Bhatta in Hari Bhakti Vilas? He says, yes. And then he explained, I was brought up in Vedic Yagya to first propitiate Ganesh, and then this Devi and that Indra and many demigods. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami changed that so that everything is in the name of Krishna. So Ganesh is Vishwaksena, Krishna's general, and so on. So they're all replaced by like the four directions, or are replaced with the 4 Kumaras, and all Vaishnavas are replaced in the Gaudiya version, which was put together, I think, jointly by Sanatan and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So he took it.
He Krishnized it.
Yes. Krishnapad.
Krishnafied.
So in the first verse of Bhagavatam ends with Satyam Param Dhimahi. Dhimahi is the Gayatri version of dhyana, to meditate on. Dhimahi.
Okay. I'll continue this paragraph. When one attains success in chanting Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. First, however, one must acquire the Brahminical qualities and become perfectly situated in the mode of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully. From that point, one can begin to transcendently realize the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, etc. Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration dealing with the Swarup, form of the Lord, which is manifested by his internal potency. This potency is distinguished from the external potency, which has manifested the cosmic world within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the internal and external potencies in the very first verse of the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. In that verse, he says that the internal potency is factual reality, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is temporary and illusory. No more real than a mirage in the desert. Water may appear present in a mirage, but real water is somewhere else. Similarly, the manifested cosmic creation appears to be reality, but it is simply a reflection of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there are no mirages. Absolute truth is there. It is not here in the material world. Here, everything is relative truth. One truth seems to depend upon another. This cosmic creation results from an interaction of the three modes of material nature. The temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of the conditioned soul. Thus, there appear to be so many species of life, including the higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, etc. In fact, there is no reality in the manifested world, but there appears to be reality because the true reality exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally abides with his transcendental paraphernalia. I just have a quick question for you, Acyutananda Prabhu. So these demigods who are all devotees of Lord Krishna, does Chandra, Indra, Varuna, do they eventually make it back to Godhead?
Yeah.
But
they can fall down also. That's the story of Indra and the ants. So they can also fall down, and they can be replaced by better ones. But Brahma and everyone in Brahma Loka, I've heard, Satya Loka, they go back to Godhead after, but they have to remain there in pious activities for the whole life of Brahma. But maybe they have shorter lives than Brahma. So yes, so maybe after a day of Brahma, they go back.
But doesn't Brahma live? Brahma lives for 100 years. So for him, it feels like he's living for 100 years.
Yeah.
We may live for 70 or 80, but it feels, the experience is similar, I would guess.
Yeah. That's what somewhere we can get the exact words, but the Ananda of a Brahma and an ant is the same. Relatively, according to their life. But when an ant may live for a few weeks, Brahma lives 100 Brahma years. But accordingly, if you're there, everything lasts like that. So these are different dimensions that we live in. But the Anandas and sometimes Brahma has to run away. Sometimes Indra, there's going to be a mountain dropped on Svargaloka by a demon. Asuras are always attacking them.
It's your paragraph next, Acyutananda Prabhu.
The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction itself, but it is he only who knows all the nooks and corners of the construction, because everything is carried out under his instructions only. In other words, he knows everything about the construction directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows very well what is happening in every nook and corner of the cosmic creation. although activities appear to be performed by someone else. In actuality, no one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Supreme Lord is everywhere. All material elements, as well as all spiritual sparks, are but emanations from him only. Whatever is created in this material world is created by the interaction of the two energies, material and spiritual. These energies belong to the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
Krishna Chandra.
The Maya is so clever that we think that things are happening automatically. Well, once upon a time, there was this element that was so dense that exploded all by itself, and it landed in 8,400,000 species of life, and the planet's already, this is the atheistic version, Darwin version. Yeah. Someone said it's like if you bomb a printing press and the explosion lands into the dictionary. all the letters and everything, they're going to fall into place and print the dictionary.
Madness.
It's funny, one devotee was talking, he was uneducated, talking, and someone said, "You don't even know who Merriam-Webster is." And he didn't know that that's a book, not some lady named Miriam. It was very good.
Puppy brains.
Krishna Chandra, a chemist.
Will do. Pardon me. A chemist can manufacture water in the laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen. But in reality, the living entity can only work under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Indeed, all materials used by a chemist are supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly, and he is cognizant of all the minute details of everything. He is fully independent as well. He can be compared to a gold mine, and the cosmic creations can be compared to ornaments made from that gold, such as gold rings, necklaces, etc. The gold ring and necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively, the gold in the mine and the gold in the earring or necklace are different. Lord Chaitanya's philosophy of the absolute truth centers about the fact that the Supreme Lord is simultaneously one with and different from his creation. Nothing is absolutely equal to the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of it.
Now, this is the example of Ramanuja, the gold and the gold mine. And somewhere, it was a elderly person, maybe a professor, and Prabhupada was pressing him. Is there a difference between this gold ring and a gold mine? And he pressed it. And he wouldn't give in. That's the rascaldom, the people who are afraid of becoming Krishna conscious.
Cotton ball, cotton shirt.
The cotton ball, cotton shirt guy, same.
Siddhanta Prabhu, it's your turn to read. Do you have any stories for us?
I did about a couple paragraphs ago.
Okay.
It's too late for it.
Yeah, no.
Too late? Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. A couple paragraphs ago, the Gayatri mantra was mentioned. This is Bhakti Vikaswami. When I received my Brahminical initiation from Prabhupada in Vrindavan in 1976, I had my only one-on-one exchange with him. I'd been waiting all morning for a few mornings, and just before it was my turn to go into Prabhupada's room, Pushta Krishna, Prabhupada's secretary, wanted to stop the initiations until the next day since there were so many initiates at that time. Then he saw that I looked disappointed, so he said, "Okay, go in." Now my godbrother and close friend, Satyavak Prabhu, a devotee from Britain who left his body about 2 years ago. This was during the 25th anniversary of Prabhupada's disappearance, so it's been more than 2 years now. So anyway, Satyavak Prabhu had heard from the Hari Bhakti Vilas that when you say Gayatri, you should face in a certain direction in the morning, another direction in the evening, and another direction at night. And he heard that you should say Gayatri so many minutes before sunrise and so many minutes after sunset. There are many detailed rules about Gayatri. I thought that if I got a chance, I'd like to ask Prabhupada about those rules. I went in and Prabhupada had me pronounce the words. I thought I knew how to pronounce Sanskrit quite nicely. I read the first mantra, said every word wrong, and Prabhupada corrected me. Then Prabhupada gave up trying to correct me. After I had said all the mantras, he said, chant this morning, noon, and evening. Do you have any questions? I wanted to confirm the things I'd heard. So I said, Prabhupada, is there any particular time for chanting Gayatri? Prabhupada just told me, chant morning, noon, and evening. And again, he said, yes, chant morning, noon, and evening. Again, I asked, but Prabhupada, is there an exact time? Prabhupada looked at me and said, morning, noon, and evening. After that, I didn't think of asking the other questions. I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, offered my obeisances and left. Or maybe he crawled out. I don't know.
That's like someone, I think I said this, someone said, why do we wear saffron? And they were meaning, why not any other color? But Prabhupada answered better. He said, why do we wear saffron? To get free clothes and no taxes and go free on the train. If this was in India, he said, if you came in your American dress, do you think you would be invited for prasadam anywhere? That's the story of Giriraj. Also tells about Prabhupada and the sick, critically ill Bombay gentleman. And Prabhupada could go to the hospital, and he goes in, and this man was in the hospital bed with all these tubes in him. And Prabhupada told the nurse, take all this off. And she did, just because of his status. Of course, Prabhupada's presence was like the sun. But this is Vedic culture. If the holy man comes in, and she did that. And then he sat with him and prayed with him and said that he would go on living. Afterwards, Prabhupada came out and Giriraj Swami said, what were you doing there? He said, I was asking Krishna to let him go on living. Krishna wanted to take him. So we had an argument and I won.
Krishna.
Talking about experiences with Dandavas, everyone. I just got in from work. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
We were coming in from Pakistan. We crossed the bridge. One end was Pakistan, the other end was Punjab. And Gargamuni Swami says, stop, wait. So he said, I got to change into my dhoti. And so all of you, if you have it, just like change. And before that, we were in a Muslim country, so he wanted us to wear regular American clothing, Western clothing. So as soon as we crossed the bridge and Gargamuni came out of the van, boy, they were like red carpet. It was like the principal, the chief came out and welcome us, welcome him especially. And they brought us all, in Punjab, they have bottled milk with different flavors. So they brought us all some milk and, let us go through, no problem. But yeah, it was like that red carpet treatment as soon as they saw the dhoti, especially sannyas.
Even in Pakistan, predominantly Muslim country, they respected dhoti.
Acyutananda was driving Prabhupada in a big car first time in India, and Prabhupada told him to go down a certain road, and it was a one-way street, and they were going the wrong way. And a cop pulls him over, comes to the car, sees Prabhupada in the back, he says, okay, go on.
Oh, that's
Wow.
You were with Gargamuni because it was pushed to Krishna that was Brahmananda, and you were with Gargamuni in Pakistan. Narhari, Prabhu?
Oh, this is when we took. No. This is the traveling vans that we took from Germany. So in the group it was Keshava, Bhutatma. Kirtiraj joined us in Germany. He needed a ride he wanted a ride to India. Before that, we had a party across US. No, Pusta Krishna Maharaj wasn't with us. It was just Gargamuni Maharaj at that time.
That was bringing the Mercedes buses to Vrindavan.
Yes. We collected money in the US, and Keshava and Bhutatma went to Menon, went to the manufacturers and bought 6 brand new Mercedes-Benz vans.
Wow.
Yeah. We drove in grand style, and Gargamuni put in loudspeakers. He wanted to come in Mayapur, with the loudspeakers, and we did. We had 6 vans coming into the temple compound, playing Srila Prabhupada chanting. And so we went to see him, and all the sannyasis were there. And Prabhupada was very happy. And he said, immediately, get me one of these ready. I'm going to preach with you. Let's go across India. So all the brahmacharis were, the party were like jumping for joy. But Bhavananda came and said, no, you're crazy, Prabhupada can travel, no way. So he makes the program. But that was his enthusiasm for preaching.
What year was that?
1976, the beginning. We left in 75 and we arrived January 1st.
I traveled with Gargamuni in one of those vans, and I said, do this. Get a industrial painter and put Library of Congress and the number of our books, on the side of the car. So we could park anywhere. One time a policeman came over and said, what is this car? I said, it's a minister's car. He disappeared. It said Congress. I thought it was Congress Party.
That reminds me of some devotees getting into George Harrison concerts, and they'd be carrying in boxes of books, and the guard would say, what are you doing? They'd say, we're with Apple Sound. We're with George, Apple Sound. He'd let them go through. Nectar.
In Turkey, they took us apart. They took everything. We had about 2,000 photographs of all the deities of the world. We had projectors. We had the latest in the VHS playing these little briefcases you open and they had a screen.
Fairchild projector. It's called the Fairchild projector.
The Fairchild projector. Yeah. And all for to make life members. And they took everything out of the truck. They put it on a cloth in front of it. And they kept us hours. In the meantime, with those huge signs, death penalty for anything, contraband, this. And so we were, we're okay. But then again, Gargamuni had, told us, let, your hair grow. And we were in, just hats and jeans and, T-shirts. We would try to look very American or European, but our plates were German. So it was kind of funny. As we were crossing Turkey after the border, the kids will come running, little kids who say, Zigaretten, they wanted cigarettes. German cigarettes.
When you were interviewed by Siddhanta Prabhu in Narhari, did you tell him that story of Prabhupada saying, get one of those buses ready for me?
No, I don't remember. Like I remember the other day, he mentioned Bhaktadas in Los Angeles when Srila Prabhupada was tears were, shooting out of his eyes. He did that several occasions. And one morning I was 3 rows back, with the rank and file and or whatever. There was no room really. It was always standing room only when Srila Prabhupada was there. And even after, but during those days in the 70s. And we all turned around. We felt we were getting wet. And somebody got a little, what's going on? Who's throwing water? And then we looked and we realized it was Prabhupada was
Wow.
shooting out tears.
There was a kirtan going on at the time, or what?
Yeah, it was right after us. He was sitting from a greeting of the deities. It was,
Wow.
big roaring kirtan.
While Rukmini Dwarkadish were being shown.
Yeah, Radha Madhava.
Oh, in Mayapur, excuse me.
That's what Prabhupada named.
That's what Prabhupada named them, actually, to begin with.
And Jayatirtha changed.
And then Jayatirtha insisted that
Prabhupada
was,
changed it back,
yeah,
and then Jayatirtha changed it again. and
Prabhupada changed it back, and then Prabhupada left, and Jayatirtha changed it back to Rukmini Dwarkadish, because, I don't know, we were near the ocean or something. That was in Los Angeles. But there it is Madhava, it's Krishna meditating in separation from Radharani. He's turning her complexion and he's playing a flute. So that's Rasabas to call him, Dwarkadish.
Hmm.
Yeah, the devotees didn't really understand that, though.
No, it was in years and years later when I had the association Sri Narayan Maharaj, where he pointed out all these things. And then speaking to Brahmananda Prabhu, he said, yes, you're right. And, I think Prabhupada even wrote a letter where it says, what can I do? I tell them to do this way, but they do whatever they want.
I have another story of Srila Prabhupada being enthused by a bus. I don't know if Siddhanta, maybe if you have more specific details on this, but the story that I heard was that when Srila Prabhupada arrived for the New York Ratha Yatra, I guess that was 76, the New York Ratha Yatra, Jayananda built the cart. Yeah. And so the next on the itinerary was Gita Nagari, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj had a limousine ready for Prabhupada, but he I don't know who arranged it for him, but someone offered for Prabhupada to go on one of the Radha Damodar buses, and it was actually Mahamuni's bus. Mahamuni wanted me to run away and join him on that bus. So sort of sorry I missed it. But there's a photo of Prabhupada on that Radha Damodar bus with Tripurari Swami on it and Pushta Krishna, and they're going down the road to Gita Nagari. So Prabhupada loved to be on the front lines with his preachers. Did you hear that before, Siddhanta?
No, I know that Jai Gaurasundar followed Prabhupada to Gita Nagari from, I think it was Henry Street Temple, 55th.
55th.
Right?
Okay.
But, he was on that, he confirms that he was on that bus. I mean, his story is a little different because he was in his car. He had a car. He's probably one of the only ones that devotee had a car. And he was speeding along. And he got pulled over by a highway patrolman. And he was shaved up, not patrolman, but Jai Gaurasundar was shaved up and Dodi. And I said, where are you going? He said, well, I have to meet my spiritual master. I have to get there ahead of him because I've got this, I have to, greet him before he gets here. And the cop said, what are you talking about? Is it my spiritual master? You don't understand, but I have to get the guy said, okay, go on, get out of here, but drive slower. But when he got there to Gita Nagari, the president, whoever that was, it's in the books, I don't remember his name, but he said, we don't have a Vyasa-san for Prabhupada. He was into construction. Jai Gaurasundar was an expert builder. So he got a little this, little that. He put together a makeshift Vyasa-san for Prabhupada. The Tamal's bus got there. And then as he was getting off, after Prabhupada got off, all the devotees followed him. And then he saw that they carried the Vyasa-san from that bus into the Gita Nagari area where Prabhupada was going to have, his lecture of greeting everyone, arrival lecture. So Jai Gaurasundar was very upset, disappointed that he'd gone through all this trouble and make this Vyasa-san, and Prabhupada wasn't going to sit on it. And they brought out the Vyasa-san from the bus. And but sure enough, Srila Prabhupada sat on Jai Gaurasandra's Vyasa-san instead.
Jai.
Somehow or another, he read his heart.
Nice.
But that's all I know about that bus. going to
Another
Kathmandu.
police story. There was a policeman and there was a devotee on the street in maybe New York, and this cop didn't want him there. I think he kind of rescued him. There was going to be trouble. So he kind of, no handcuffs, but he just says, get off the street. And he made him sit in the police station for an hour or two. And he said, put those books on my desk. And then after an hour or two, he said, okay, you can go now. Take these books. And on his way out, he said, hey, the cop must have been reading the songbook. But he said, hey, you, what's a bimbo fruit?
Can I say something?
Please.
On the Prabhupada wanting to travel on Sankirtan, a few days before he entered Samadhi, Lokanath and his brother and a traveling Sankirtan group came back from Badranath, and they'd gone there in their bus, and they'd gone to see Vyasadev's cave, and Srila Prabhupada was so excited, he said to take him on the bus and take him to Badranath.
Wow.
Yes. But of course, no one would let him go. He also wanted to go around Govardhan Hill in a bullock cart, and everyone would say, no. And the Kaviraj said, we're going to, the Kaviraj, tell him he can't go on the bullock cart. He goes, oh, he can go wherever he likes, no problem. He can go on a flower airplane. It's not bad for him. You let him go. But of course, he didn't go. So.
Jai, we've got more readers here. Thank you for coming, Bhavatrini and Vijay Garanga's here. And Bhakta Connor's still walking home. You look like you're dressed like a policeman, Bhakta Connor. Is that what you are?
Security guard. I'll be in policing in a couple of years.
Okay. There's some hope for the police force. Sikarani, are you home or are you on a walk?
I can read.
Really? Okay. So let's go find
Yeah.
the next paragraph.
Yep.
Let's get the next paragraph for you. Did
You've
we
seen that, sorry, just a comment that I've observed even when reading the Lilamrita. Prabhupada had a lot of luck with the police.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember if we read this paragraph or not?
No,
I think we did.
no, we
We
didn't.
did. What? We
No.
did or did? Okay,
No.
Sikarani, please read.
Automatically takes its own shape independently. Did I read that? Because I commented on this, that Maya is so clever that she makes things appear to happen automatically.
Right.
Somebody once said, well, you don't believe in God, then what do you believe in? He says, nature. And Prabhupada said, whose nature?
Hmm.
Oh, right there he was. We knew that this is an experienced world class discussion. The Christians use this word that's peculiar, but it means apologist. Apology means to explain things. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean to confess, but in most modern, it means to confess to something, but it really means to explain.
Or sometimes I've heard myself referred to as an ISKCON apologist or a GBC apologist.
Oh, no.
Oh,
It almost sounds like
Well,
culpable.
what he really means,
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Sounds like someone who makes.
I'll read, well,
Okay,
I'll
go
read
on.
this again. Conditioned souls beginning from Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, down to the insignificant ant, are all creating something, but none of them are independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator outside his own good self. and this is called Maya, or illusion. Due to his poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses. Thus, he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape, independent of a conscious background. This is refuted by Srila Vyasadeva in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, as stated before. Vyasadeva is a liberated soul, and he compiled this book of authority after attaining spiritual perfection. Since the complete whole, or the absolute truth, is the source of everything, nothing is independent of him. Everything exists within the body of the absolute truth. Any action or reaction of a part of a body becomes a cognizable fact to the embodied whole. Similarly, if the creation abides in the body of the absolute truth, then nothing is unknown to the absolute directly or indirectly.
Sikarani, you want to read this one in the
Yeah.
Shruti mantra?
In the Shruti mantra, it is stated that the absolute whole or Brahman is the ultimate source of everything. Everything emanates from him. Everything is maintained by him. And at the end, everything enters into him again. This is the law of nature. This is also confirmed in the Smriti mantra. There it is said that at the beginning of Brahma's millennium, the source from which everything emanates is the absolute truth, or Brahman. And at the end of that millennium, the reservoir into which everything enters is the same absolute truth. Material scientists have haphazardly take it for granted that the ultimate source of this planetary system is the sun, but they are unable to explain the source of the sun. In Vedic literature, the ultimate source is explained. Brahma is the creator of this universe, but because he had to meditate in order to receive the inspiration for such a creation, he is not the ultimate creator. As stated in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma was taught Vedic knowledge by the personality of Godhead. In the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the Supreme Lord inspired a secondary creator, Brahma, and enabled him to carry out his creative functions. In this way, the Supreme Lord is the supervising engineer. The real mind behind all creative agents is the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna personally admits that it is he only who superintends the creative energy. Hello. Yeah.
Prakriti.
Prakriti, the sum total of matter. Thus, Sri Vyasadeva neither worships Brahma nor the sun, but the Supreme Lord, who guides both Brahma and the sun in their creative activities.
Dvija Garanga Prabhu, we didn't hear from you.
Yeah. The Sanskrit words abhigya and swarat appearing in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam are significant. These two words distinguish the Lord from all other living entities. No living entity other than the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is either abhigya or swarat. That is, none of them are either fully cognizant or fully independent. Everyone has to learn from his superior about knowledge. Even Brahma, who is the first living being within this material world, has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord and take help from him in order to create. If Brahma or the sun cannot create anything without acquiring knowledge from a superior, then what is the situation with the material scientists who are fully dependent on so many things? Modern scientists like Jagadish Chandra Bose, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, etc., may be very boastful of their respective creative energies, but all were dependent on the Supreme Lord for so many things. After all, the highly intelligent brains of these gentlemen were certainly not products of any human being. The brain is created by another agent. If brains like those of Einstein or Newton could have been manufactured by a human being, then mankind would produce many such brains instead of eulogizing their passing. If such scientists cannot even manufacture such brains, what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord?
Seeing this reference to Isaac Newton, I'm just remembering it's in one of the small books or medium books where Isaac Newton, no, one of Isaac Newton's colleagues said Isaac Newton had a like a diorama of the Earth planet, the solar system, the sun, and the planets revolving like kind of like on a little wire apparatus. And so the friend asked Sir Isaac Newton, like, wow, like who made this? And this friend was an atheist, or at least an agnostic. And Isaac Newton said, nobody made it. And his friend said, come on, like, don't pull my leg. Some obviously somebody had to have made it. Who made this? And Isaac Newton was saying, no, it just, just appeared. It's just, nobody made it. And then finally, Sir Isaac Newton challenged him and said, you're considering that there's no intelligence, no creator behind this universe, but yet you're demanding that there's intelligence behind making this little model. Acyutananda, you have anything to add to this paragraph, or?
Well, just that, as we said before, that between at least Kapila, Sankhya, numerology, not numerology, but number sequences and manipulation of formulas, number formulas, and Kannada, subatomic and atomic and subatomic particles, you can get away with a lot of, what's that Sanskrit expression? BS. Yeah, you can get away with a whole volumes. And the thing is, you go to some college for 6 or 8 years, you get a degree, and they'll pay you to teach this, and they don't know. And Newton created this word gravity, and Neil deGrasse Tyson was asked, what is gravity? And he says, we don't know. Next question. So they just have a word. They have some words, some palavras, some terms, elliptical, tilt of the, I just saw this long version of the scientific evidence of a superior intelligence, 6-hour video, very, very nicely done. And it said that, see, Bharatvarsha, this goes into the 5th canto. The Jambudvip covers the entire middle of the Brahmanda. The Bharatvarsha, which they think is a planet, or even the flat earthers think that it's one disk of Earth, is not. The Bharatvarsha is a semicircle, like a bow on the southern edge of this entire Jambudvip. So it is mentioned that the pole star can never be seen directly overhead. See? So only the varshas that are close to Mount Meru, which is in the center, that's the lotus that comes out of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, they'll see the pole star Dhruvaloka directly overhead, but we don't. So because they don't know this cosmology, they invented the axis of the world is tilted. And they have 3 to 5 words. That's that elliptical, fliptical tilt, which changes every 2,000 something years. And it's going to change very soon, because they say the pole is now, even the magnetic pole is going to move from Canada to Siberia. And they don't know why. They don't know why. And they know that from maps and histories that the pole star was somewhere over Greenland. They keep changing. The speed of light, going back to Einstein, the speed of light, they have changed that 4 times since 1944 because it didn't fit what was happening.
Right. My major was chemical engineer, and we studied nuclear physics and like that. And since I was a kid, I always wanted to know about the origin of everything. While I was in school, I think there were 3 different theories that came about and always changing. But Siddhartha, you might have this. There's a morning walk in New Vrindavan, but Srila Prabhupada said, you should start growing pineapples now. Because they,
Right.
the change I talk about. And if you know anything about sidereal astrology, which correlates to astronomy, true astronomy, the Western, meaning from the school from Egypt, they didn't take into account the 13 degrees difference. Everything has spiral or move. Everything moves around the polar star, the north star, including the sun.
Yeah, I think it was 2,174 years, so we're pretty close. There's a shift, the Great Reset happens. They don't know
The Great Reset.
And that's why they say we're on the dawning of the age of Aquarius, that song. It is moving.
Right.
According to that. Local Guru will know this better than me because he knows
Right.
astrology. But the shift is going to happen. Another 112 years.
Huh?
Just a flash
Get out your ephemeris.
right.
Everybody he knows the ephemeris. He consults with the ephemeris. It's very ephemeral.
So if it's bought,
Somebody
you
made
were
a
talking
comment.
about naming things.
Regarding the name of Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, I seem to remember Prabhupada saying that Marconi stole from Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose the radio or some kind of invention.
Jagadish Chandra Bose discovered that plants have consciousness.
Right.
He had the machine to measure those changes.
Yeah.
No, Marconi's story is with Tesla. Tesla had about 70 patents.
Yeah. There's Thomas Edison. He stole most of the patents. He was even snooping around the Wright brothers airplane barn, and he was trying to know what was going on there. So they're all trying to steal patents, and you make $1 million.
So we have Nitya Leela has not read, and Bhakta Connor has not read yet.
Read.
Yes, please. Where are we now? Okay. Nitya Leela, would you like to read even the Mayavadi impersonals?
Even the Mayavadi impersonalists who flake out themselves and believe that they have become a lord themselves are not Abhijana or Savat, fully or cognizant or fully independent. The Mayavadi monists undergo a severe process of austerity and penance to acquire knowledge of becoming one with the Lord, but ultimately they become dependent on some rich follower who supplies them with requisite paraphernalia to construct great monasteries and temples. At least like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu had to undergo severe penances before they could flout the authority of the Lord. But ultimately they were so helpless that they could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as a cruel death. This is also applicable to the modern atheists who dare flout the authority of the Lord. Such atheists will be dealt with same God as were given in the past to great atheists like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu. History repeats itself, and what was occurring in past will recur again and again when there is necessity. Whenever the authority of the Lord is neglected, the penalties dealt by the laws of nature are always severe.
Yes. Just like all these atheistic ideas, they've been around forever, and even Sahajiya. These are all different areas where atheists will fall into, and so one can, in a sense, start to understand what it means when Paramhansa is Trikalagyan, because these things have been happening constantly. Same as if you know Hiranyakashipu and their attitude, you'll know every atheist. But they had to become austerity. They had to perform all these austerities to get that way, and then they were crushed anyway.
Honor Prabhu.
Yes.
Take it away.
That the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is all perfect is confirmed in all Shruti mantras. It is said in the Shruti mantras that the all-perfect Lord glanced over matter and thus created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material nature with the seeds of the spiritual sparks. Thus, the creative energies are set in motion for so many wonderful creations. When one atheist argued that God is no more expert than the manufacturer of the subtle watch, which has so many delicate parts, we had to reply that God is a greater mechanic than the watchmaker. because he simply creates one machine in male and female forms, and the male and female forms go on producing innumerable similar machines without the further attention of a god. If a man could manufacture a set of machines capable of producing other machines without the man giving the matter any further attention, then a man could be said to equal the intelligence of God. Of course, this is not possible. Each and every one of man's imperfect machines has to be handled individually by a mechanic, because no one can be equal in intelligence to God. Another name for God is a samardava, which indicates that no one is equal to or greater than him. Everyone has his intellectual equal and superior, and no one can claim that he has neither. However, that is not the case with the Lord. The Shruti mantras indicate that before the creation of the material universe, the Lord was existing, and he was master of everyone. It was the Lord who instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge. That personality of Godhead has to be obeyed in all respects. Anyone who wants to become freed from material entanglement must surrender unto him, and this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita.
So, yeah, everyone is now read at least once, as far as I know. I don't mean to put Siddhanta Prabhu on the spot, but I'm wondering, since he's just come back with some fresh Prabhupada nectar, if he might have a little preview for us of some of the tidbits of your interview with Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. Would you care to share any of that with us, Prabhu?
No, I haven't logged it yet.
Okay.
Once I log it, then I can share some.
Okay. Was it only him?
No, I also interviewed Adi Purusha, who heads up the Bhakti Center there and also distributes prasadam at Tompkins Square Park to all the homeless people there.
Oh, nice.
3 or 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So he shared some of that story.
Nice. Okay, well, we look forward to you logging in that information so we can hear from you.
One thing that he did say, the first story that'll be on his video, is that he was at the studying at the University of Pennsylvania. And he looked out the window one day and he saw an Indian person there, an Indian man walking by because of his dress. And he went home and he said to his wife, Saudamini, he said, I saw this amazing Indian person. I don't know what he was doing there, but it was amazing. And he found out later on that Burijan's daughter, Lalita, had made a timeline of Prabhupada's activities and comings and goings, and when he came to America, etc. And before he went to Butler, Pennsylvania, he went to that university.
Oh.
And so when he saw that timeline, it confirmed that Indian man he saw was Prabhupada.
Nice.
Yeah, like there's sannyasi who just passed away, and now I forget his name. But he was in the Coast Guard, and every time a foreign ship comes in Boston, every time a foreign ship comes in, they have to escort it. And
that was Chaivan Swami.
Chaivan Swami,
he
yeah.
was in Williston, and they have to stand on the side, and they salute the captain, and the boat goes by, and he said he saw Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada wanted to be on the side to see Boston as the boat came in, the first sight of America. So he was the first to see Prabhupada in the West.
Wow.
That's all in 1965, right?
Yeah, probably is, yes.
I think few days back, there was a big Swami Maharaj in Rochester, and some devotees in Rochester came for that program. And one of the devotees, he said he was an officer. He was an Indian person, and he said he was an officer on the ship or whatever on which Prabhupada came. And he shared a lot of story or whatever the experience was.
I interviewed him.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Very good.
That was me. The story was that he met Prabhupada there, but when I questioned him further, he was a navigator on the ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jaladuta.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
And but And it was actually the cabin boy that met Prabhupada and brought, and, you know, because he was sick, then the cabin boy went to this Indian man who was the navigator on the ship, went to him and said, look, we have a passenger that's ill. And so he then gave the cabin boy some pills to take to ease his nauseousness, etc. But he did see Prabhupada on the top of the ship, you know, as he looked down, but he didn't personally meet him there.
Yeah, yeah.
We heard that.
Yes.
We heard that Prabhupada cooked a Janmashtami feast while aboard the Jaladuta. Isn't that truth?
Oh, yes. The
Well, the
Khichdi,
navigator didn't say that, but it might have happened.
Well, I'm just saying that he probably tasted the feast.
I don't know. He didn't say that either.
He didn't say that either.
I remember it being Khichdi. Prabhupada prepared a Khichdi. I remember reading.
Yeah, I read this.
Let's see if we can do another quick round while we have a few minutes left. Where are we now? Acyutananda Prabhu, you want to?
Okay, where are we? Unless
I didn't read.
one.
I didn't read.
Go ahead.
Somebody didn't read.
Please read.
Me.
Go. Please read.
You mean read here? Unless one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, it is certain that one will be bewildered, even if he happens to be a great mind. Only when great minds surrender unto the lotus feet of Vasudeva and know fully that Vasudeva is the cause of all causes, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, can they become Mahatmas or truly broad-minded. However, such broad-minded Mahatmas are rarely seen. Only they, however, can understand the Supreme Lord as the absolute personality of Godhead, the primeval cause of all creations. He is paramount, ultimate truth, because all other truths are dependent on him. Because he is the source of all knowledge, he is omniscient. There is no illusion for him, and there is for the relative knower.
We didn't hear from Bhavacharini. Is she able to read?
Yeah, it's the mic's open.
Okay.
I hold it.
Some Mayavadi scholars argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, and some suggest that the book is a modern creation written by someone named Vopadev. In order to refute this meaningless argument, Srila Sridhar Swami points out that there are many of the oldest Puranas which make reference to the Srimad Bhagavatam. The first shloka or verse of Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the Gayatri mantra, and there's reference to this in the Matsya Purana, the oldest Purana. With reference to the context of Gayatri mantra in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in this Purana, it is said, that which contains many narrations of spiritual instructions begins with the Gayatri mantra and also contains the history of Vitrasura, is known as the Srimad Bhagavatam. Whoever makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life and goes back to Godhead. There is also reference to the 12 cantos and 18,000 shlokas. In Padma Purana also, there is reference about the Srimad Bhagavatam during a conversation between Gautam and Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish was advised to read Srimad Bhagavatam regularly if he at all desired liberation from material bondage. Under these circumstances, there is no doubt regarding the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. For the past 500 years, 500 years, many scholars have made elaborate commentaries upon Srimad Bhagavatam and have displayed unique scholarship. The serious student will do well to attempt to go through them in order to more happily relish the transcendental messages of the Bhagavatam.
I just like to make a brief comment regarding whoever makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life and goes back to Godhead. So I went to Vrindavan in 1989, and I wasn't. I don't know if I was actually conscious or not that there was a Kumbh Mela going on, but a few devotees mentioned it and that I should go. Wow. So I got on the train and I went to Prayag, Allahabad, and I heard there was something like 30 million people there. It sure seemed like it, because when you wanted to take your bath in the Triveni at 4 o'clock in the morning, it was just like jam packed. You couldn't even find a spot to get in to the rivers. And I remember Dina Bandhu was there and he was leading kirtans through the crowd, and it was like a transcendental circus. You'd see like a straw sticking up out of the sand, and it said, "Don't stop, don't step there," because there was someone buried under the ground with just their straw sticking up. and I saw yogis lying on these barbed, like gnarled, looking like barbed wire, but it was just thorns. Yeah,
they lay on thorns,
and they were just relaxing, lying on these thorns, and so our ISKCON booth or tent or camp was really the most popular. We were serving out 5,000 plates of prasadam a day. Ayodhyapati, who became Bhakti Bringa Govindaswamy, he was there heading up the cooking. I remember he said to me one night, he said, "Hey, you want to have something special?" I said, "What's that?" He took me into his tent and he brought out a bottle of grape juice from Africa. It was grape juice, it wasn't wine, but it sure tasted like, ambrosial when you're out there. Anyway, at one point I got up I was on the stage doing kirtan with the devotees, and Lokanath Maharaj came up to me and he said, "Hey, Gauraji, why don't you go and speak to the people?" And there was like, I spoke to 400 people a couple times at Sunday feast, but never to like 5,000, an ocean of faces. And I was I was nervous. And I said, "Well, what will I say?" He said, "Oh, just tell them how you came to Krishna." And I said, "Well, but most of them probably just speak Hindi." He said, "That's okay, I'll translate for you." And I thought, wow, what a humble sannyasi, translating for me. So I went up to the mic and I started talking a bit. And I quoted, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, and the people started going, "Haribol, Haribol." And so I was getting like really inspired, and I could see their faces were all lit up, and they were just like waiting for me to say the next thing. Haribol, Haribol. And I thought, well, no wonder Acyutananda, Jayapataka, Bhavananda, so many came to India and speak here, because nowhere in the West do you go and you quote a little shloka and people go nuts and they just eat it up and they love you. And then I was getting on a roll and I didn't want to stop. And Lokanath Maharaj said, "Okay, Gora, it's time for the kirtan now." He pulled out the cane, so to speak, and pulled me off. Anyway, sorry, I'm being long-winded here. But I remember this quotation. I remember hearing from the devotees there that it's a full moon night tonight. And if you give a Bhagavatam to someone, especially if you give it to a Brahmin, then you'll go back to Godhead. So I got a Bhagavatam from the book table and I wandered around asking different people, "Excuse me, are you a Brahmin?" Or if I saw someone, if they look very clean and pakka, So I found one man, he says, "Yes, I'm from a Brahmin family. I do puja." I said, "Okay, please accept this gift because I want to go back to God." Not that I think go back to God in the near future, but I just remembered that was an opportune time to do that. So
tomorrow is Ekadasi, and this coming full moon is Guru Purnima.
Yes,
when is
very
that?
important.
When? Tomorrow?
Thursday.
Friday.
I'll be speaking. There's a 72-hour program out of Miami on Zoom, and there'll be many speakers talking about. They asked me to talk about Prabhupada and Bhakti Rakta Sridhar Maharaj and Bhakti Pragyan Pura.
Can you send us the link?
Keshav Maharaj.
Can you
Yes.
send us the link so we can share that?
Should I send it to you and you'll
Or-
spread it around?
Yeah, or you could send it here in the chat box where everyone could have access to it.
The chat.
Lord Harvard, darn it.
Here's the guru.
Local Guru Prabhu, you didn't read much. Would you like to read again?
Can
Sure.
I say just a little minute? Can I say something about the last paragraph?
Oh,
When talking about dating something, there is the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, which are thousands of years old. Forget now, but way past 5,000 years. Nevertheless,
is that
on
in
the
Pakistan? Is
inscripted
that in
on-
Pakistan?
I believe so.
I think
Yes,
so.
yes,
Yeah.
it is. It is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and in one of the walls or somewhere in this I learned from our son, the eldest son, Vrindavan. Inscripted it says Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And now Harvard did a DNA study on Mohenjo-Daro, and all the skeleton, whatever they found, human remains, they're dated. The DNA is from that place. It's not that there was a migration of Aryans like Europeans would say that invaded India. And in another science of astronomy, you can date the Mahabharata because at the time, I forget the position of what stars it was, what was going into Scorpio, but there was a two-headed comet that came in right on Kartik time, right before the battle of Kurukshetra.
Oh.
So that's totally, using the ephemerals, like you were saying, you can date it perfectly. That is 5,000, 300 and something years.
Can I give the numbers for the Zoom now?
Yeah, why don't you?
Yes, please.
Okay, everybody ready with a pen and paper?
Oh, do you have a pen battery?
Or a
Can't-
chisel?
can't-
or a-
Can't you just put it in the
Oh,
chat?
right there on my book. Right there on my book.
I don't know how to chat.
No,
You don't know how to copy and paste?
I don't trust myself. I have to reach up here to type. It's better to hear it in your right ear from the sound vibration will enter your heart. So I don't know
Yeah,
when they're
that's how we
starting,
re-
but they may be starting tomorrow. But I don't know.
What is
Ready?
it? 474-060-4017, and the password is 108. Can I read that back to you, please?
Go on.
474-060-4017,
Yes,
and the passcode is 108.
yes, it is.
And the celebration is what? The glorification of Srila Prabhupada and his
Well,
godbrothers?
There'll be many speakers, so they will talk about many of their gurus
Oh,
before
it's
and
Guru
after.
Purnima, right?
It's
okay.
Guru Purnima, yes.
Guru Purnima.
But what time? Eastern time.
I'm not sure. Loka, can you?
no clue. You have all the information.
But okay, I'll ask, I'll email Nishinga and find out when other speakers are on, because I want to hear all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
72 hours, going on 72 hours.
Starting tomorrow, you think?
I think so.
Guru Purnim is Friday, though.
Friday, okay, then, no, it may start on Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay.
So I'm speaking at 5
What day?
Thursday.
Okay.
And the cloud call.
July
PM,
26th.
yes.
I'm speaking July, Thursday, July 22nd,
Yeah.
You know when?
5:30
In the morning or evening?
evening.
Eastern
At
time.
5:30 p.m. Okay.
So
that's
listen
great.
to everything, because there'll be many other speakers that you want to hear. And I want to hear also. Probably Tridandi Maharaj will be on.
Okay.
Mukunda Prabhu, other sannyasis.
When you know it starts, could you please give me the information and I can
Yes,
share it around?
yes, I'll send an email right after this. And depending on how long it takes for him to answer, then I'll forward it to your divine
Thank you.
holiness.
Jivan Mukta Prabhu, you're here. Would you like to read a paragraph before we end the evening?
Sure.
Great. Thanks. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically deals with original and pure sex psychology, adi rasa, devoid of all mundane inebriety. The entire material world turns due to this basic principle of sex life. In modern human civilization, sex is the central point of all activities. Indeed, wherever we turn our face, we see sex life prominent. Consequently, sex life is not unreal. Its true reality is experienced in the spiritual world.
Did you
Material
hear this? You listen to this?
Material sex is but a perverted reflection of the original. The original is found in the absolute truth. This validates the fact that the absolute truth is personal, for the absolute cannot be impersonal and have a sense of pure sex life. The impersonal monist philosophy gives an indirect impetus to abominable mundane sex because it overly stresses the impersonality of the ultimate truth. The result is that men who lack knowledge have accepted the perverted material sex life as all in all because they have no information of the actual spiritual form of sex. There is a distinction between sex in the diseased condition of material life and sex in the spiritual existence. Srimad Bhagavatam gradually elevates the unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence above the three modes of material activities, fruit of actions, speculative philosophy, and above worship of functional deities indicated in the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam is the embodiment of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and is therefore situated in a position superior to other Vedic literatures.
Ramananda was once explaining in the West psychiatry founded by Sigmund Freud with this ridiculous idea that everything is motivated by sex. And Freud said, yes, everything in this material world is motivated by sex desire, kama. In the next paragraph, I say the dharma, artha, kama, and moksha.
What I found really significant. Gork, Prabhu, could you go back?
Yeah, sure. How far back?
Right here, it says, the impersonal monist philosophy gives an indirect impetus to abominable mundane sex because it overly stresses the impersonality of the ultimate truth. The result is that men who lack knowledge have accepted the perverted material sex life as all in all because they have no information of the actual spiritual form of sex. So impersonal philosophy, because it is so artificial, it's just a mental concoction that there is no rasa, there's nothing. So they're drawn inevitably back to the highest material rasa. It's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the devotees who have a concept of the pure sex life, for them, it would be much easier to overcome mundane sex.
Because we understand it in its proper context and because we can get the higher taste.
Yeah, because we know there's something This is just a perverted reflection of something so much superior. But the impersonalists, there's nothing. There's nothing. So their minds are wavering on that mundane platform, and they inevitably fall back into this material existence. The lure of mundane sex, even as a reflection, is so powerful because it's a reflection of the ultimate pleasure of Radha and Krishna. So how can anyone overcome it?
Just consider also all the guilt and shame and all different kinds of real mental trips, and especially in other, say, the Abrahamic religions too, in dealing with the reality of trying to deal with the sexuality.
Well, I think that shame is expressed by certain devotees as well. I mean, who was the devotee with the Chintamani as his guru?
Bilvamangala Thakur.
Bilvamangala Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti. You know, Yamunacharya spit at the thought of their previous, previous attraction to sex life. I mean, devotees feel that too.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a story.
Okay.
This is from Arjuna Das. When Hari Sari Prabhu was ill, a good friend of mine, Godrum Das Brahmachari, massaged Prabhupada. Godrum was one of Prabhupada's bodyguards, was strong-bodied, and the first time he massaged Srila Prabhupada's chest, which was soft, it made him think of a woman's breast. Immediately, Prabhupada said, "The allurement of the illusory energy takes the form of breasts of a woman." I'll say that again. The allurement of the illusory energy takes the form of breasts of a woman. Godrum was devastated that Prabhupada could read his mind. Godrum said, "God, I'm not qualified to do this service."
Wow. I was once massaging Prabhupada, and I went like this over his breasts, and he just said, "Thank you very much."
Wow. Massaging Prabhupada. What a gift. Nitya Leela has a question here for us. Astrology. Kindly clarify the point of view by Srila Prabhupada. At some places, he supported it, and somewhere he didn't.
In the Bhagavatam, in the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, Prabhupada says directly, because they read his horoscope, and Prabhupada's purport is that astrology is a genuine science. Just because it is misused does not make it invalid. See? And then another time he told me, Jadi Jyotishti Kano Rastate Vik is Bangla Jane Ekane. Where did she go?
Yeah, I am here.
Jadi Jyotishti Kano Rastate Vik. So if the astrologer is so good, why is he sitting on the footpath begging? There's sections in every Indian city where there's a row, and for two rupees, they'll read your palm or something. Well, if he's good at it, why doesn't he get rich and know the lottery number? Why doesn't he know the winning horse or something? So it's a misuse.
But maybe
he's so poor?
Very strict Brahmin.
But the genuine application of astrology is very good. And sometimes I'll read my daily horoscope, and sometimes it is exactly right on. But most of the time, they really don't know. Sometimes they'll just be kind to children today. Well, why today?
Just today.
Consider yourself and consider your surroundings, and it's just general knowledge that's proper for any day. Then they don't know. But sometimes, sometimes it's very accurate.
Yes, same way I felt.
Recently, someone said, somebody will bring you a gift. Don't think about it, just agree. Well, somebody came and said they're going to pay for my false teeth.
Wow,
Yeah.
fantastic.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't ask about it. They said, no, don't worry about the money. We'll
Yes, that's true. And they also say like they can just, the astrologers also, they can just guide us, but they cannot change the destiny.
Yeah. See, and I met
So-
some genuine, or at least bona fide astrologers, and they said, astrology cannot tell you bad news or it will come back on you. If they're scaring you, see?
Yeah.
So they have to say it. So that means that, well, what if something's bad's going to happen? They're only telling you the half. But he said, we have ways of saying it. For instance, let's say we see somebody's chart and they're not going to be rich. So we say, you're going to be rich, but you're going to have to work very hard.
Yeah,
So the
and
guy
it's
never
also
gets, so now the guy never gets rich and he said, oh, I didn't work hard enough.
yeah,
So they
yeah.
have ways of telling you that way. And that was very experienced. They're like,
Yeah, yeah. And it's also like calculations and science. So there can be bad mathematicians. Same way there can be bad astrologers who don't know the calculations well, who are not that skilled.
But also, if they're good, because of the curse of Lord Shiva on them, they
Yeah,
cannot be 100% accurate. So that's what they said,
Yes.
that you had to consult at least 3 astrologers to get it
Yeah.
pretty close to it.
Okay.
But
Yes.
we were in Vrindavan, and there was this astrologer. We were walking anyhow. We were invited to the house, and he said, "Oh, I'm an astrologer." And so he told our trainee, "You better be careful. There's an accident coming." But he couldn't describe it too well. But he said, "Oh, be careful. You might as well don't get in the car." And she forgot, and that she did have an accident. It was a very traumatic one. So yeah, they could be 90% accurate if they're very good, and if not, less and less according to their
Yes.
ability.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
was
Yeah.
there was some astrologer here who agreed and said, yes, you two people should be married. And then a few months later, the husband was killed. Then he read further into the astrology, said this woman is supposed to be a widow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Nitya Leela has asked, I read a
Little mistake there,
sorry.
minor little mistake.
Oh, wow. You remember
Yeah.
Nitya Leela has typed, I read a quote mentioning astrology is crap, as no one can predict about nakshatra of saintly persons like Srila Prabhupada coming to this world. Why Srila Prabhupada chose certain days to travel?
What was the last part?
Why did Srila Prabhupada choose certain days to travel?
Okay, that's a daily, it's in the Panjika. That's the daily almanac. And there's a Navadvip Panjika, and they'll tell you there's Bharavelas every 2 hours. There are good and bad times to go north, south, east, or west, inauspicious times to go. Bhaktisiddhanta followed it. Sridhar Maharaj told me how to follow it. And you would look up, especially Thursday afternoon is always Bharavela. And that's a very, even closed stores. They'll shut down stores because it's bad luck.
Yeah.
And that happens.
That means you should travel on a Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning?
Well, I know it happens in the West on Thursday in the morning, because one time when I was working in the bank, nothing went right. The phone, you couldn't reach this, you couldn't, and then 2 hours later, 5 after 12 or something, everything that didn't work came through. I said, this must be it must have been a Barbella period that hits America in the morning. But in India, it's always the Thursday afternoon. Every day there's a Barbella, but Thursdays is a very, very strong one.
That's why Srila Prabhupada, if he had to travel on a Thursday,
right,
they packed his bags and put it by the door on Wednesday evening.
My family also. They still follow that a lot in India.
Yeah.
Like my family strictly follows it. Even if at least a handkerchief, they will try to send it first in a good mood
Ah, very good.
Yeah. Just
We've
in
started
case.
now, and we break journey next door, and then Acyutananda would move everything into another room. Because we've started our journey now, and we're breaking journey in the next room for a little while. And we
Yeah.
can get-
Yeah.
Srila Narayana Maharaj was the one time he would follow this, and he has the astrologer from Mathura who was actually a disciple of Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj. And at one point he said, "Oh, I'm not going to bother with this. The ultimate thing is that we want to preach. Look at all these Westerners. This is the trouble whenever they don't they don't care about this date or that date, and so don't bother me." If there was a preaching engagement, of course that was how he would travel. Then after a while he didn't really consult anymore.
And
with astrology.
Prabhupada and Sridhar Maharaj also told me many omens about traveling. So one time, maybe I was staying with Prabhupada at the Chippiwada Delhi, and we were both going on a rickshaw together down the street, and I only had one dhoti. So I had always seen this shop that had cloth stacked up. So on the way, we passed that, and I said, "Prabhupada, can I get a dhoti from them?" So he said, "Don't talk." I said, "I only have one dhoti. Could I go to that shop tomorrow and get it?" "Don't talk." So we finished the program. We came back. It's over. And then I said, "Why did you tell me not to talk about the cloth shop?" He said, "That is not a cloth shop. That's the dhobi. That's the laundry." I said, "So?" He said, "You don't talk about the dhobi when you're leaving on a journey. It's bad luck." There are many omens like that, and they work. They work. Like outside my door, I have a full gallon jug of water. To see empty jugs. Now, one time also, I came out of the house and I see something on the ground. There's this big empty can. I said, "This is bad." And we went anyway. And then we stopped at the Walmart, and there's a lady coming out with 2 empty buckets like this, empty buckets to her car. If you see a lady carrying buckets to the well to be filled, that's okay. But I said, no, she's not taking it to a well to be filled. She's taking it to a car. This is another bad sign. And some troubles happened on the way.
I have 4 references to astrology that I got from Ganapati Swami when I traveled with him for 6 months. He gleaned these from the Lilamrita before the folio was created. The first one's called Palm Lines. This is from Lilamrita 4, page 155. One afternoon, a renowned astrologer visited Prabhupada and offered to read his palm. "No," Prabhupada replied, "I am finished with that. As soon as you clap your hands in front of the deities during Arti," Prabhupada said, smiling, "all the lines of your palms are changed." Here's another from Lilamrita 3, I think it is. Are those astrological charts very much applicable for devotees, Srila Prabhupada? Said Hari Sari. "No," said Prabhupada, "don't waste money for this astrology. Srila Prabhupada's faith was only in kirtan. Tamal Krishna suggested they again have continuous kirtan, and Prabhupada said, that is real business. The astrologers are karmis. We have nothing to do with the karmis." Here's the third one, Krishna Consciousness Beyond. This is from the Nectar book, number 3. "Krishna consciousness is beyond astrology," said Prabhupada. "If you surrender to Krishna with a slight kick, Krishna can annihilate 100,000 Rahu planets." And the last, go ahead.
No, I was on my way somewhere by bike, and there was some kind of fair, a state fair or county fair here. And I'm going just at the beginning, and I see a truck go by with a trailer with 2 donkeys in it. I said, uh-oh. And yeah, and I couldn't find, it turned out I couldn't find where I was going. I had to come back. To hear a donkey praying is good, but to see two donkeys is, or one donkey, bad sign. There's other things also. One of them, very strange. Sri Damar told me, Shuddha Mangsha, fresh meat. I said, what? He says, not to eat, but to see. If you pass by and there's fresh, that is a success sign.
That's a
Really?
success.
Wow. So not so bad when we were going through Afghanistan with Gargamuni's party. Oh my God, it was gruesome. We had nothing to eat, and so we're looking. We saw a market, and the market was like there was blood. I mean, talking about fresh meat, but it was really a bloody scene. And so I thought, well, maybe this is inauspicious, but I think I was wrong, because the next thing is that we ended up in a very successful trip where we end up seeing Prabhupada. And
This is gruesome, but this is important. It's a law that the goat and the sheep, they may be hanging in the market dead, but they have to keep the hooves on. You know why? Because they could put a dog up there. So it's the law. It's the law, because they're the same size, big dog.
Wow.
So it's the law that they have to keep the hooves on the thing. And the thing is, I passed by in Delhi, Chandni Chowk, and they're full of flies.
yeah.
Nitya Leela, I don't know if you're aware that Nirhari Prabhu drove through Pakistan. What year was that, Nirhari? 73?
1976.
76.
Well, 75. We arrived in India in 76.
Right.
1st January.
Yes.
We were bringing those
So
vans.
we went to Peshawar, and like that. And then we crossed. Well, of course, we did all the most famous. It's the only road actually built through Afghanistan, was built by the Russians and the Americans, actually. And the floods were going on, and we had an accident with Keshava. And so we were doing the point. We were the point in the party to see if we can go through then. And on the other side, there were the bus with people. And we looked at each other, and Keshava was very, adventurous. And so me too. And like, we went through, and we were ready to, like, that van could have been gone, but there was only one road. We went through Khyber Pass and like that, and then through Afghanistan. Yes. And it was funny. It was like really strange, because seeing in one side of the bridge, men are tall, 6'5", very tall men, the guards. The only thing, and on the other side of the bridge, and the Indian side, you would say, also men that look the same, ethnically, no difference, but the uniform was different. So they were all tall and like that. And so when we got to the other side, Gargamuni, the Maharaj that we were going with, directing the party, he changed real quickly into a dhoti. And when we came out of the van, the chief came, and they were all very humble. They were very happy to have devotees. And then we did a kirtan, and they brought us milk. And Punjab, there's all these milk stations, and very, very nice, big forests, and very easy to get clean. There was showers every 2 miles, a few miles. You could stop and bathe.
Right now, Nitya Leela's brother Ram Saka is going back for his second tour in Balochistan. He's preaching in Balochistan.
Wow, nice, very good.
Yeah. I have one last astrology quote here. Acyutananda, can you hear, Prabhu?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. This is from the Little Red Nectar book. Prabhupada said, astrology will not save you at the time of death. My Guru Maharaj was a great astrologer and astronomer, but he gave it all up. It is meant for the karmis. We have no interest in such things. But yet, I just question, are people disobeying Prabhupada if they want to get married and they want to check on the level of compatibility that exists with a potential spouse? Is that a
That's
scan?
that's actually slightly different.
Okay.
But in general, my wife is a longtime astrologer since she was 18, over 40
Wow.
years. And she had a teacher who was an exceptional at predicting things. And in Detroit area, she's passed away, but in the Detroit area, the different people from the Theosophical Society, which she was also a part of, would call her up and test her. What am I doing right now? And she'd say, well, you're in a bar, you're doing this. What am I drinking? Well, you're not, and she was right every time.
Wow.
Except when it came to devotees, everything worked differently for the devotees. She couldn't predict for the devotees. For the non-devotees, she could predict anything.
Could you please clarify why the strategic planning team GBC is promoting it? Because they had several sessions.
What?
Sorry, I'm saying that if it is karmic, I mean astrology is karmic, then why strategic planning team GBC is promoting it by arranging several sessions by different astrologist devotees?
Who knows?
Gopal Bhatt is doing that. I have no idea.
They the GBC in 1979 or 78, they passed a resolution that no devotee was allowed to go to an astrologer but just as they were getting ready to go to India, all the GBC men some of them were passing through Washington, and they all were getting their charts done before that so they could have them done, but wouldn't be in violation of their own resolution.
This happened in New York. In India, did they still? In India, do they still have Jaba Kusum tel? In Jaba Kusum, there's a hair oil for women.
Oh.
So the owner of that, Mr. Jaba Kusum, was an astrologer, and he knew that in March of a certain year, he was going to have a heart attack. And he knew that the best heart surgeon was in New York. So he became a life member. He came that month to live in the 55th Street Temple. And one day he was climbing up the stairs in March, and boom, he had a heart attack. He went to Mount Sinai Hospital and got surgery, and he lived. But he predicted that, and he knew it would happen.
There's also a story where this one man he knew Prabhupada was a pure devotee, so he knew he could tell the past, the present, and the future. So he was bugging Prabhupada, please, Prabhupada, Swamiji, read my palm. Prabhupada said, no. And he kept bugging him throughout the little walk. And finally, Prabhupada said, he took his hand and he looked at the lines and he said, birth, old age, disease, death. And he threw his hand away and said, all bad.
I had the same story. A rich man's lady asked Prabhupada, can you tell me future? He said, yes, you're going to get older, going to get disease, and die. But another way also after being a devotee, Surabhi Swami, the architect of the temples, before that he was a palmist. He studied palmistry very, very thoroughly, and he wanted to know if there was a certain similarity on people who became devotees. And so he looked at everybody's, it was all different, every different kind of person.
Except, Kesava gave me two things. Because of my astrological sign, I have 5 planets in Virgo in the 9th house, and the moon is in Hasta. And so Kesava, my godbrother, brought me 2 books. One is Charaka Shastra and Hasta Samudrika Shastra. And I studied them. And so there are certain things like, if you look at the shape of the fingers, not the lines, the shape of fingers, you can tell if somebody is inclined, his inclinations, if they're philosophical or not, or if they're conical in the index finger and the little finger, that mostly the fingers mean like that. It makes one to be a devotee. And then I remember now that in the 9th canto, Prabhupada speaks that astrology is a science, but it shouldn't be abused. And so he mentions in the case of marriage or to figure out the career for a child, how are we going to educate that child?
Right.
So, but he put it next to, in Montreal, the devotees weren't going out on Sankirtan. If the chart, they would cast a chart every time.
Might get arrested today.
Yeah, right. Today is very bad day, Prabhu, so we're not going out. So when Prabhupada he found out about that, he hit the roof. He said, no way. He mixed all that stuff. So he has to be, it's like when he said health is number one. So people go out of, they go the other extreme and they forget, they neglect their bhajan. When they start neglecting our chanting, our focus is deviated. That doesn't negate that. Yeah, he said health is very important because without it, what we're going to do? We can't go out and distribute books or go out now and even chanting and like that. So
I have a feeling that Siddhanta Prabhu has at least one or two anecdotes for us related to astrology. Is that right, Siddhanta Prabhu?
I'm looking for one that Atma Tattva told that's pretty significant. But it'll take me 1 second, so somebody else can say something.
When Narayan Maharaj stayed with us for 10 days one time, and he found out my wife was an astrologer, so he asks her, "So, when will I die?" And my wife, she just couldn't, she said, "Gurudev, you're never going to die."
I've had my palm read several times in my life, and they all said I was supposed to die at 63, 64. I'm 73 now.
I'm glad they're wrong.
Okay, I got one here.
Someone said you said I was 76.
Oh, you're 72.
73.
73, okay.
And by Indian, Asian reckoning, I should say 74.
Yeah.
All right, Prabhupada will count the year, so he would, say, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So you were born in 47?
48.
48.
Siddhanta has a story for us.
This is Atma Tattva. He said, I had a Krishna book, and on the back cover was a picture of Prabhupada looking at a champak flower he was holding. I showed the man this picture and said, "This is our Guru Maharaj. He has translated these books." The man looked at that picture, and then he brought some thread and things from a little box, and for 10 or 15 minutes measured Prabhupada's forehead, ears, and so on. Then he said, "This person's features show me that all the 4 Vaishnavacharyas are present in him. I wish you had a picture of his full form." So I showed him a photograph of Prabhupada's full form. I'm hearing some children and banging going on.
Someone's smashing. What's going on?
It's a little
stop.
Annoying.
Okay.
Muting. So he said, this man who measured Prabhupada's forehead, ears, and so on, this person's features show me that all the 4 Vaishnavacharyas are present in him. I wish you had a picture of his full form. So Atma Tattva said, I showed him a photograph of Prabhupada's full form, and he did another study, this time with a lens. Then he said, I was not wrong. They are all working through this person. You are very fortunate to be with him. I would like to be part of a movement like this in my next life.
Wow.
I said, but I thought your ultimate goal is to go to Kailash because it was a Shaivite. He said, yes, if I go there, I can tell Lord Shiva that I want to join some movement like this. Wow. And I want to spread Dharma everywhere. He was happy and said, please give this book to me. It has given me the highest experience of studying a person's features. I want to keep this book. So I gave him a complimentary copy.
Wow.
Wow.
Srila Prabhupada.
Gargamuni came back from Calcutta and came back to the temple. wow, wow. I said, what? He says, I was standing on the street and a car pulls up and they say, nice gentleman. They say, get in. And we're taking you to our house. And what are you doing? So I'm making life members. And how much is life membership? 1,101 rupees, 1111. They were Jains, gentlemen. And Jains have a thing about 11. So it's their auspicious number. So they take him to their nice house in Calcutta. They said, what do you want to eat? He said, I'm not hungry. No, ask what you want to eat. He said, give me some halava. 2 seconds later, they have a plate of halava. They said, and they paid 1,111 rupees to him and became life members. And they said, how did you? He said, we were told that you would see a sadhu on the street and he will ask for halava and he will ask you for a donation and give it to him.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. How did
I'm
they?
going to stand on the street now in a Jain neighborhood. Just started raining here, boy.
Yeah, it's raining hard.
Oh, that's a good sign too.
That's a good sign when it rains at night.
Auspicious. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you
Raining-
speak in truth.
Is it
I had a little story about how I joined through the I Ching, and he said, it speaks about the great sage, and they all, complete I Ching. So he said, you'll find the friend for life in the junction. And so, yeah, I took the subway, and my idea was to go back to America, make some money, and then buy some land in Patagonia. Anyhow, yes, I met the devotees again. I had just come back from England, and for 1 year I was gone, and I met devotees many times, but this time I was able to start reading here in Prabhupada's books. That I never left.
This is Ishtagoshti, coming together, reading and discussing Krishna and his devotees.
Thank you for
Yes.
reminding. Thank you, Acyutananda, for reminding.
Ishtagoshti, for the third time. Ishtagoshti doesn't mean now this is why you should do the dishes.
Thank you for reminding me, Acyutananda, that this actually is Ishtagoshti, because I was making a post today saying, I can't remember the last time I attended an Ishtagoshti. It seems like they don't exist in ISKCON anymore, but actually these are all Ishtagoshtis.
Yeah, remember Prabhupada in Vrindavan, he said, he was so upset. Everybody was fighting, whatever it was, some political deal. It doesn't matter who. But Prabhupada said they were under a tree. Said, we can have ISKCON under the tree. So, Bhaktisiddhanta too, when they first built the first temple, they were all fighting who was going to have what room, and in the building. So he said, sell all the bricks, sell everything.
Sell all the marble.
Oh, that's a great point. Bhaktisiddhanta, we know Bhaktisiddhanta said, tear out the marble in the temple and sell it and print books. You've heard that?
Yeah.
Yes.
He built the Bag Bazaar temple in advance with inferior cement so that the marble could be taken out someday without breaking it. To sell.
Oh.
Bhaktivedanta Madhav Maharaj told me that.
Oh, far out. Yes.
He had a plan all along.
Kind of as a plan B, sort of.
Yeah.
Were all your questions answered, Nitya Leela, about astrology?
Yeah, thank you.
No.
Oh, by the way, Bhavatrini, you're there?
Yes.
Yeah, Nitya Leela is starting up is it the first Gurukula in Pakistan? Yeah. And so I gave her a bunch of links. I connected her to Urmila. Dayananda, but I also mentioned you and how your son was in Gurukula, that you've written many beautiful songs for children in Gurukul, and maybe the two of you, if you want to connect, because, you know, I put her in touch with Sangeeta and Tapa Savini because they created a curriculum for Sunday school. I know Sunday school isn't the same as Gurukula, but still it's an educational curriculum.
I did a Sunday school in New York.
Probably liked it.
Manhattan. Yeah. But I have 2 songbook coloring books that have albums with them.
We still have some, but we were
Oh,
sending
yeah,
them
we
all over
still
the
have
world.
them. But yeah. Anyway, it's funny. You were talking about astrology. You probably remember I did tarot card readings for you and Akuti.
Wow, really?
You don't remember?
That's
Yeah,
so-
I actually could I could see the future, and I could actually use techniques like Gauri Dasi. She wanted to know the date she was going to die, so I looked it up and calculated and gave her her death date.
Wow.
Expiration date. Expiration date.
Expiration date.
Well, they do correlate because they said
I went to a college in India, and this is how seriously it is taken, astrology, because the first speaker was the president of the college, and at the inauguration date of the college, when it was established, he took that as the birthday, and he read the astrology, the horoscope for the college, year by year, what has happened and what will happen.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if astrology stops, all the marriages in India will stop. Because the whole arranged marriage system is based on astrology. And it is successful because, like, at least till now, I don't know about the future generation.
So we can do August 15th, 1947 is when India
this
is
is
established.
perfect. Oh, yes. You did some readings for the world.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
So tarot cards are related to astrology. Is it, Bavatrini?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just have
Okay,
very
another time
strong-
I'll tell you the whole story of Jacob and Boaz.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's amazing.
Go for it.
Not now. It's
Or are
very
you
long.
giving us a cliffhanger?
Very long. All right. Okay, I'm a 3rd degree Mason. And in Masonry, Jacob and Boaz are on the either side of the inner door of a life. You ever been? You could, sometimes the public is allowed in. So there's
My
Jacob and
father
Boaz.
was a Mason. My father
Okay.
was a Mason, and his funeral was a Mason.
Everybody's uncle was a Mason. And, so there's Jacob and Boaz. This appears in the tarot. Which tarot card in the major arcana?
oh, the
Empress.
The Empress, yes.
Empress.
Yes.
Anyway, and there's a J and a B. Anyway, in the 3rd year, 4th month of his reign, most excellent King Solomon had a temple built of the finest marble to be the awe and splendor of the world. This honor was denied his father, King David, because King David in his battles spilt blood abundantly. It's the Bible. This is not Masonry. I can't say anything about Masonry. I'm under obligation for that, but this is in the Bible. 3rd year, 4th month. This is 3 coming up. Anyway, Hiram Abiff was King Solomon's architect. He's the first Grand Master of Masonry who were Masons. They're called operative Masons. They were architects, and their secrets was geometry and architecture, which they kept secret. So King Solomon had built, Hiram Abiff, the first Grand Master of Masonry, built the King Solomon's temple, and in front he built out of bronze 2 pillars, Jachin, which means force, and Boaz, which means balance. Now,
what language is that? Is that Hebrew or what language?
Hebrew.
Okay.
And in the Bible, it says they were they didn't hold anything up either. They're just standing there and with beautiful chapiters, capitals on top, decorated with leaves and so on, made of bronze. And the measurement is given so many cubits. Now, years later, this temple was attacked and looted by Nebuchadnezzar. And he said they wanted to get the Ark of the Covenant, but it wasn't there. They opened up the curtain and it's gone. But they stole all the valuable, and they stole the two bronze pillars, Jacob and Boaz. And it is mentioned in the Bible. Now the measurement is 2 cubits shorter. This is not a secret. This is there if you just know where to look. They're 2 cubits shorter than the ones that Hiram Abiff first built. How'd they do that? What happened to 2 cubits? This is a cubit. I don't know. What happened? Okay, these were mechanical machinery things which worked. They were full of sand. They were hollow. They were full of sand. And they would work a lever under the temple that would work an elevator under the inner temple, the Holy of Holies, and that the Ark of the Covenant was brought down, taken off, and then Boaz, the sand comes out of that and lifts the stone floor back up. Force and balance, Jacob and Boaz.
Yes.
And so that when Nebuchadnezzar's army goes in, they open the curtain, it's gone, and they see the stone floor empty. So somewhere, now this further idea, see, the blood of every sacrifice has to be sprinkled on the ark. So it is believed that these caves, they took the ark under these caves and rested it finally back in the cave right under Golgotha, Calvary.
Yes.
And when Jesus is crucified, and it is a historical fact in the Josephus that the earth cracked open. So it is believed the blood of Jesus fell down and landed on the Ark of the Covenant under there.
What actually is the Ark of the Covenant?
The stones of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah,
That's
the
something that
tablets.
is touched by God. That has subjective, it has reality.
That Moses held.
Moses, so that is touched by the hand of God.
It's like a box. It's a box.
So every ark that they put in later by Herod is fake. That was just an imitation.
Are those arks still existing?
So they believe it's under that cave where nobody's allowed to go because there's Muslims in there, and Jewish people don't want it to be found either. Because if they find the ark and do some DNA, and if there's some blood on it, then you got the whole Jesus idea coming.
I don't know.
This is why I think Jesus is a Shakti Avesh avatar.
Right. Didn't Prabhupada mention that?
Yes.
He was. And maybe the Templars, maybe that's what the Templars were looking for.
And so was Hitler.
Yes.
And they made a movie about it, with Harrison Ford.
Right.
So,
we saw that.
but there was a Christian archaeologist, and they were trying to find the ark because they're Christians, and he was walking along in the rubble, and he said, "My arm just went out and said, dig there." He said, "It just automatically." And they went through caves and caves and they think that they found it. But then the governments and the this and that, they stopped everything. And later that man died. So nobody went back for it. But there are many, all of these on the platform of King Solomon's temple where the Dome of the Rock is, the Muslim temple. The Muslims put their mosques on top of everything of another religion. That's where there's a mosque in Mathura.
Right. They follow the Spanish. The Spanish follow the Arabs.
It's sweet and great. Prabhupada, so the Muslims destroyed Krishna's temple in Mathura And with the same stones, they built a mosque. And you can see the Sanskrit carvings on it. And they smashed the image of Krishna. And they made it into powder. And they put that powder in the mortar on the footpath leading up to the door of the mosque. So they'd be stepping. And Prabhupada quotes this, says, they have killed the Hindu god. We have killed the Hindu god, they said. But they don't know him. This is the purport. They think that if they smash the image, they've killed Krishna.
And Nitya Leela and her three brothers are killing the Muslims with kindness in Pakistan and getting them to donate 5 million rupees to print 10,000 of Prabhupada's books.
Well, they're gonna bring God back to life.
Yes, by the Vani, the book.
Yes.
Krishna. So that's the story of Jacob and Boaz.
So when I was growing up,
because it is believed that when King Solomon marries Queen of Sheba in Egypt, they knew all of these sciences of moving things with stone and sand, and that's how they built pyramids. Nobody can. They still don't know how they built the pyramids, but they had ways of levitating things.
We had in our synagogue, we called it the temple, and it was supposed to be built like Solomon's temple, and so they had a get up where the ground would open up and the ark would come up with lights, and then they'd take the Torah out and read it.
Wow.
The rabbi. Yeah.
That was an Atlantic.
See, if you don't have the form of God, then it is human nature to want to worship some form. So they worship the Torah. They decorate the Torah with silk and silver, and they bring it around and they kiss it. So there has to be some deity. And Sikhs also, they worship the Guru Grantha. They worship their book. See?
Hey, you want to see my look? Can you see that we're gonna lose the transmission? That's a neem tree, but then that's Haribol Bahula. She's going for a walk. We had Kevin there. Bahula, Haribol.
Can I see it?
Can you see her?
In the reddish, well, the cow.
Well, there's the stop sign, and then past the palm leaves, she's black and white.
Yes.
I think if I go further, we might lose the transmission.
You have a cow there?
Yeah, she goes for walks. We had two cows. That's Bahula, and Jamuna is the one that gives us milk.
Oh, I see. Okay, very nice.
The one that gives us milk, I mean, they never had a calf. She one day decided to give us milk.
Wow.
Yeah. And Bahula has a little bit, but she wanted to give milk too, but it bothers her too much, so we leave her alone.
Yeah, success sign is to see the calf getting milked from the mother calf. That's a success
right. That's
sign.
what.
So this was told to Indira Gandhi. She made the symbol of the Congress Party, that symbol of the cow and the calf, for success, and she won.
Right. I heard that Prabhupada said this was really a low point in India's history, that a woman became the leader of India.
Yeah. So further, just backing up, so those chapiters on the pillars of Jacob and Boaz, they fell down, they sunk down, so that when Nebuchadnezzar came, they were shorter than what it says in the Book of Solomon, Book of Kings.
Oh.
Because they lowered that, they came down. That's why the measurement is 2 cubits shorter.
Wow.
They came
That's
down.
what it.
Because they were.
It reminds me. The other day I was listening to Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they give the measurement of Lord Chaitanya. He's 4 cubits.
Yeah.
That's by 4 cubits.
And
I always wonder.
Yeah.
What the cubit is? What, 1.5 feet or
a hand? You have 18.
I know it's
18 inches.
18 inches. Okay, times 4.
Now there's a number system in Sanskrit. If I can remember all of them, because you'll see this carved on temples. Auspicious numbers are written backwards. Ashtautra Sata. That's 8 above 100. So that's 108. So it's we say it backwards. So on the establishment of temples, they'll write the date backwards in words. Here we go. Bindu is 0.
Oh, yeah. Or like
a
you were
drop.
saying-
A drop. 1 is Chandra. There's 1 moon. 2 is the Ashwini Kumas. Ashwin is 2.
Yeah.
Netra. Shiva has 3 eyes. So Netra means 3.
Oh.
Veda. There are 4 Vedas. So Veda is 4. So if you say Veda Chandra Bindu Sindhu, Sindhu is 7. 7 seas. So Sindhu
Oh,
is
yeah.
7. 8 Vasus. Vasu means 8. Then 9 is Nakshatras. And that's, yeah, so 10 would be Bindu, what was number 1? Bindu Chandra. So if you see, if you see something written in these words and you don't know that they mean numbers, you may think something, what? The moon and the Vedas and the Vasus,
Sindhu.
what does this mean? Yeah, it's numbers. And then they're written
Right.
backwards.
Oh.
But this
So
is,
like
yeah,
Ekadashi.
this
like
is
Ekadashi.
Indian Masonry.
Wow.
I don't know anything about Masonry. I've just always heard it's very mysterious. Is there any connection between Masonry and Vedic culture?
No, probably not.
Although I got, this anthropology, I saw this documentary like maybe 15 years ago. And this the American anthropologist, he flew over Angkor Wat, the temple. And everything there is measurement of half of the 108. And of course, you see the high relief of the Asuras and the Devas churning the ocean with Vasuki.
The fraternity of Masonry has nothing, but all of those operative Masons who were actually builders had many, many amazing secrets. Those were turned into philosophical ideas around 1717. In 1665, there was a fire in London, and King Charles the Little told Christopher Wren, "We have lots of money. I want you to rebuild London beautifully." So Christopher Wren asked, "Who are the best marble builders?" And they said, "Oh, they're from what is that town? Tuscany. Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
can be. They can be here in a week." He says, "How can they be here in a week? Don't they have to have passports to go through all the provinces of Italy and Germany and France?" And it says, "No, they're Freemasons. They go wherever they want, and they set their own wages." And so this sounds like liberty. And so then Christopher Wren said, "Can I become a Mason?" Yes, and they gave him their secret. And there was only 3 degrees for centuries.
Wow.
Finally, by 1717, they said there were more non-Masons than Masons, than builders, who were of all kinds, who loved this idea of liberty. And this is what inspired America.
Right.
This is George Washington. All the signers, most of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were all Masons.
Yeah, Rousseau, and
Because the whole idea that they could be free from and this equality, this idea comes from Masonry, that we don't have to be under a pope or the monarchy. The French Revolution wasn't just against the king; it was against the king and the pope.
The pope.
See,
the power, yeah.
Because church and state were together; they were hand in hand. And really, the popes made the king. That's another great idea that I take for real. The Roman emperors just morphed into popes.
Yeah.
Because it's better to make everybody Christian, and we'll be on top of that. Why is the headquarters in Rome, not Jerusalem? Because they were Roman emperors.
Right.
They changed their hats.
Right.
They wore those funny
Although
hats.
the first popes, yeah, But remember, the first popes were in France.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they were in France. I think he's the one. That's the pope that coins the phrase "God wills it," and so they ask him why we're going to go to crusades. God wills it. And Nuremberg.
That was Pope Innocent III, and they were
Yeah.
Cathars. They were Cathars in South France.
Right.
And the knights, he said, I want them wiped out. They're heretics. And the knights said, how will we know who is a Cathar or not? He said, kill them all. God will sort out his own. He's the one that started that. Nice guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice
and
guy.
if you look at in Nuremberg, there's all the cemetery, Jewish cemetery. You find the date 1095.
Oh.
That's when they started killing all the Jews, the infidels in Europe. They would start going east, and they start killing Jews. Even though they had.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Did Srila Prabhupada ever make reference to the Masons?
No.
I'm not sure.
What actually are they?
You're looking at one.
Although now it has to take in a bad connotation of a secret society that.
Okay,
that
just
would-
like we said, astrology, it's a valid thing and it can be misused. So in 1776, this guy, Adam Weishaupt, comes in and says, oh, here's a real secret way with lodges all around that we can exchange secret things and the governments won't know. And it turned it into this Illuminati, and they made up 32 degrees. And I was told also that we don't know if these are valid at all.
Baba Trini.
Now I hear there's 92 degrees. So we don't know if these are valid. And they bring in the devil and all kinds of nonsense. And Madonna. And Madonna.
Sounds a bit like 98.6
Rosie
degrees.
O'Donnell. You know,
Sounds a bit like 98.6 degrees to me.
Yeah. Rosie O'Donnell and Madonna, they know.
Yeah, but a true story. Batrini had your relative that was saved. You remember he did the sign of.
Right.
Tell him the story. That's
After
what
the
it was.
Civil War, one of my great grandfather was
Great or something.
he was a teenager and he was bringing produce home in Tennessee, and he was Jewish, and the Ku Klux Klan surrounded him and were going to hang him, and he did the Mason
Distress signal.
distress signal,
Yes.
and it was in the newspaper. I read the article.
Oh, that's a great story. There was another, either north or south, his army was surrounded by the other party, and he gave the distress symbol. And very quickly, you can know who's a genuine Mason. So the northern general asked him a few questions, found he wasn't a Mason. He just learned that sign. And then he forced him to become a Mason. Many stories like that. And up in the cathedrals, which were all built by the Tuscany Masons, there are little cartoons carved in the rafters and the beams. One of them is the Pope riding on a donkey or pulling a door, being pulled by a donkey. Things that would get you burned at the stake, you know.
Yeah.
And they have these just to show up hidden in the rafters, just to show that we don't care, because the popes needed them to build. How could you build these fantastic? Have you seen the inside of St. Peter's Basilica? Yeah, amazing architecture. It's all by formulas. And the Indian architecture is even more fantastic.
Yeah, how did they get that? Sorry.
What?
No, you were going to say something.
How did they get the big lotus flower hanging from the Radha Govinda temple? I was amazed.
Yeah.
How? Do you know?
There's the Ellora Caves. There's about 132 sites, and now the government put a clamp on that thing, like real tight.
They've discovered Dwarka probably under the ocean. They stopped that.
Yeah. So you can see, I mean, their forces, I mean, right now, I mean, there's many shows. You can see the monoliths, including the Kyoto palace built on this, monumental. These rocks are like 100 tons, 100,000 tons, and like that. But in asking one of the Gaudiya Math sannyasis, Sridhar Maharaj, I said, what about the Ellora caves and all this? I mean, buildings that are carved from the top down, like in a huge granite piece, and it's carved down to perfection, a temple with everything, columns, it's all one piece. I said, that's Vishwakarma. He said, that's Vishwakarma.
Yeah.
So
Praveen Mohan has all those videos on this.
I'm a half an hour from a town here in Ontario called Ellora, and it's got a huge gorge running through the town, and it's a big tourist attraction. Tons of people come from Toronto to go through the gorge, and there's, you could say, something that resembles tunnels that go into the side of the gorge, and there's a river running through the town. So it's called Ellora, after Ellora in India.
Yeah, this did I send you that 6-hour video of the architecture? Even these modern buildings and all over Europe, they go under. There were other kinds of buildings altogether. There were all many ancient things that's all been lied about and covered over by Christians to cover up the original pagan, anything that was pagan. And so is science and medicine and anything that was herbal, because then they made it into a business. They made it into a profession. As a professional is a word. That means it's by business.
Right. I read the other day. Go ahead.
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. He mentions, I went to a dentist, and the first thing he asked me was, what do you do for a living? And I walked right out.
Meaning what? Meaning what?
I want to know if you're rich.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
In other words, he resented that.
Wanted to know how much to charge him.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And no, if you go into a store and they say, how much do you want to pay? Walk out. They're trying to spot you.
Right.
What's your budget?
Yeah.
Yes.
They made a comedy show. They went into a electronic store. I want to get a microwave, and they showed a toaster. Yeah, this is a microwave. Yeah.
Well, it must be late where you are.
Yeah, it's 10:36. I'm gonna have to sign off. So see you all on Wednesday. And thank you, Acyutananda, for the information. Let me know what day the whole thing starts.
Yes. Yeah, let me do that. Let me do that now.
All right. Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. See you soon, Krishna willing.
I hope. Let me know too.